Yeah, hello everyone. Am I audible? Can anyone tell whether I'm audible or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good morning, ma'am.
Yeah, thanks. So this is quiz one revision session. So week 1 to week 4 concepts will be covered. We will revise those concepts. I think Arup sir, you can start now, right, sir?
Yeah, sure. Am I
Yeah.
audible?
Yeah, yes, sir, you are audible.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. 1 minute. Let me share my screen. This is week one. Is it visible to you?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. So my voice is clear, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Uh, okay. Let us start like week one concepts. So week one, we're having more theoretical approach to understand what is programming, along with the type of programming, type of types we can have inside a programming. Then we go towards the modularization of a program, then slowly go into abstract data type, then go into the object oriented. So that's the flow of week one. So let us do a quick revision of what we have. So first we have something what a programming language is. So it's basically a way of communication. To whom I communicate? I communicate to some computing devices, right? Some of the computing devices, it could be a computer, right? And what we communicate through a programming language, we say how to compute something, right? So those are basically the computation instructions, right? That is what we do. Now, at the early stage, these languages were we used to call them as a low-level programming language or a machine language kind of thing. So that has a high-level dependency on your hardware architecture, etc. So suppose you want to add something, you need to define in which register you have to upload your data. Then in which register is your accumulator. You have to load the data inside that. Then you have to do the addition. Then you have to store it in some memory. So everything has to be uh, connected properly. Connected properly in the sense your code should be bind it properly with the hardware. Like it should know which register your data should go. It should know which memory location your data should be transferred, which is your accumulator, etc., etc. But one way it's easier, or we can say it's computer friendly, because we are directly saying where to do what, right? So it's clean understanding for our programming. And whenever we talk about the machine code, we write it in a 1-0 format, which is more understandable for the, or this is rather only understandable form of what a computer CPU can understand or a processor can understand, right? So it's more um, computer friendly in that way. But the problem is very tedious and error prone, right? Because we are writing something which is not in our language, rather the language which computer understands. So writing program using 1-0 and knowing every architecture, knowing your all the register memory, it's difficult to remember, it's a tedious job, and also it's error prone. So uh, that's why we thought of why not go for certain abstraction rather than being more specific about your hardware. So those things, the concept of register and memory, etc., let it be encapsulated within the libraries, right? And whenever we write the programming, we'll be using some abstract term, high level term. So we say variables. So whenever we define a variables, we assume that it will be located in some memory that is already taken care. So we don't have to store it explicitly. We just say I equal to 10. That my job is done. So similarly, you have something conditional execution, iteration, etc. So these are all abstraction. So low level statements will be generated or it's written inside some library, right? So that's how the concept of high level programming came, which is look like a English like language. So why we prefer to write the code in a high level language? The simple way, our thought processing is much easier whenever we are thinking in an English like language rather than some language which is written in 1 0, right? So that's why it's better to express our thought in terms of a English like language or a high level language. But the problem is our machine cannot understand a high level language. So what we need, we have to translate into a low level language. So you go for two kinds of translator normally. So there are more, but as explained, there are two. So compiler and interpreter. So those are basically translated to bring your high level language into low level language. Okay, so high level language having a limitation that you got lose control over the hardware because you don't define which register your data should go, right? So that kind of things happens, but the advantage is definitely the error handling is easier. Then uh, it's much more aligned with what you are thinking and what you are writing, right? Okay. Then we discuss about the programming styles. So we discuss two style, imperative and declarative, right? So imperative, like how we should compute given an input, how we should modify or work on those inputs so that we can get the output, right? So that gives us a set of instruction how to manipulate your data, and we'll have lot of intermediate variables, right? So that will be updated and comes out with the data. And declarative programming, we don't define like how to compute it, rather we say what we expect as output, right? We just say this is my expected output for this input, so we describe the output rather. So that's about your declarative and imperative programming. Then as I told, like then slowly we go into the abstract data type. So before going into the abstract data type, let us check with the collection type. So in general, the collection types are arrays, list, or dictionaries. We can put normal basic types and number of basic types into a single collection type, right? Then we go for the abstract data type. So we'll have the basic type or collection type, and also we define what kind of operation we can do on it. So just think about a stack. Whenever you're defining a stack, you say you have an array. So that's your collection type. And also you define the operation on the array. So you can do the operation, that's push and pop. So it's done. So it becomes abstract type. So you define the type, which could be a basic type or a collection type. Also define what are the operations permitted on that type. That's it. One more very important thing which we'll learn in the abstraction also, that people should know I am having push on pop, but how the push pop happen, people should not know. So that's the operation should be visible as an interface, right? So people will know they can do push and pop, but how the push on pop is implemented, that has to be hidden from the outsider. So we separate the implementation from the interface. So implementation will be hidden from the outsider. Why it is hidden? In the simple way, people should not know I do use internally linked list or a array to implement our stack. And why I don't want to show, to give a transparency in that way. Suppose my program or my ultimate goal of the particular project may be to do a better memory management or a memory efficiency. So I could go for a linked list, and if my objective is to achieve more efficiency speed wise, maybe I'll go for an array, right? But people like the outsider or my user should not have to do so. They will be knowing if they call for a push, it will be a push. They call for a pop, that will be pop. But internal implementation, it is the programmer's job how to implement that. Now, object-oriented programming is consist of a number of abstract data types. They will be arranged in a hierarchy format, right? So classes, subclasses, right, in that particular format. So it's so each class is kind of a abstract data type, right? So they will be arranged in a tree like a format, which calls a class hierarchy or a ADT hierarchy. Okay, so functions are invoked by the object, not by passing the data. So normally what we have learned previously, that if I call the function short, we need to pass the array which need to be shorted. But now we write the array object, then call dot short, right? So this is a object oriented approach, and this is some kind of a procedural approach, non-object oriented approach. So till now, anything you want to ask is okay?
The last one, how this is object oriented and my list, sort and sorted list.
See, normally what we can do, we can have a function sort and we can pass your array, right? This is how we
Yeah.
want to do the sort. But now rather than we can create an object like an array and on which I'll call the sort. This is how the object-oriented calls are made. This is the
Okay,
object.
okay, okay. Okay, okay. Sorry. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll go for the lecture 2 where we have a discussion of the types. So first question is why the data types are required at all. So if you look at the hardware and our data, everything stored on the memory is a stream of binaries. So byte after byte, we're having the stream of binaries, right? So I'll have either 0, 1, but it cannot be none. So there will be a long stream of 1 and zeros, right? But how do I know what I want to read, right? First thing is how much I want to read. So I need to somehow specify I want to read 1 byte, 2 byte, 4 byte, right? That is one aspect served by the data type, like how much I want to read. So if I say integer, maybe I want to read 4 bytes, right? That is a specification I record. And secondly, in which format I want to read it, right? Do I want to, I read 1 byte, suppose. Now I want to read it as a character, or I can want to read it as a integer. That's another question. So these two things will be solved by the data type. How much I want to read and in which format I want to read. So it gives the binary stream stored on your memory some meaning, right? Then the naming concept and structuring is important. So we can have a point represented by a float and float, right? Which may not be a such better approach. So we can represent a point, right? Rather, which is consist of a float and float, like float x and float y, two coordinates, right? So this is a better naming convention, which will basically consist of these two things. So there are approaches over there. Uh, Good thing about defining a type, we can catch a bug very early. So that's we go into the dynamic and static typing. Like the question is, how do I know the data type of a variable, right? Suppose I declare a variable, assign some value, but how do I know, like, what is the data type of variable? So in depends on that, we can divide it into dynamic and static. So if the type of a variable is defined by its value, then it's a dynamic type, right? So I write a equal to 10, so it's an integer. If I say a equal to this, that means it's a character. So it's defined by the value it is assigned with. But until unless I assigned any value to it, it don't have any type. That's a dynamic approach, right? But static typing needs explicitly declaring the data type of a variable. So you need to explicitly write int a first, then only you will be able to use some value into it, right? And it should be a valid value. It should be always a int. Now, if I do a comparative study between the dynamic and static, static look are tedious. Dynamic look much more a easy job. I don't have to explicitly define everything, declare everything, right? But static is good because it could save a lot of errors, right? Some kind of errors of not initializing your value could be solved by static typing. So static approach is lesser error prone compared to the dynamic approach. Some people say the runtime is much more faster for the static because the data types are already resolved, but we don't want to discuss it in details. Okay, let us go for the next third chapter. Okay, second chapter. Do you have anything to ask? This is not second chapter; it's a second lecture. Sorry. Okay, if you're not asking, I assume it's done. So lecture 3, we have memory management. So two questions we asked initially: the scope and lifetime of a variable. So scope is the area inside your program where your variable is accessible, right? So your variable is available or accessible to in your program, a particular part of your program or not. That's basically the scope of a variable. And lifetime is the duration when it is having allocated inside the memory. So scope is the area inside a program where it is accessible. Lifetime is the duration till what time it should be allocated in the memory. Now, uh, there is a detailed discussion on memory stack, right? This also calls as a call stack or function stack in a different way because this memory stack is useful to store the local variables which are used inside a function, right? Which are used inside a function. Now, function needs to store its local variable somewhere. So where it will be stored? We say it will be stored in a activation record, right? What is the activation record? Suppose from the main function, I don't write everything. Like I just write a uh, overall, say the moment I call the function f from the main. So this is the stack. So whenever you start your program, basically a memory will be allocated for main. If you have some local variable inside the main, say if I have a int I, so this I has to be allocated inside the memory. Now you give a call to f, so there will be another chunk of memory which is called as a stack frame or a activation record, which will be allocated for you. So if you have a local variable j and also I, so there will be a I and j. So again, these are non-static variables and local variables. So I can have a number of copies inside the memory at the same time. But this I is different from this I. This is the I belongs to main because it is allocated on the activation record of the main. And this I is belongs to F because it is allocated on the activation of record of F. Right. So the sole purpose of activation record to store the local variables of your function. Along with that, it also helps you to successfully make the function calls and return. So if you talk about the return, there are two aspects: returning the control to the caller and returning the value also, right? So if you think about returning the control, each activation record will have a control link. It's a where you should return the control once your function is over, and where your value will be returned, that's basically specified by the return value link. Right? Right now the variables are allocated on the top of the stack. Those are actually here within the scope. So the particular variables which are on the activation record, which is right now at the top of the stack, those are basically within the scope. But all the variables which are there in some of the activation record in your stack, they are all still on the lifetime, right? So if your variable in any of this activation record, means that is lifetime is on, right? But it has to be on the top activation record so that you will say it's within the scope. Now the passing the argument inside a function could happen in a two-way. So it could be a pass by value or pass by reference. If you do a pass by value, you basically copy the values into the argument and your work will happen to the copy of the value. So it do not actually change the actual variables whose value you have copied, because you are working on a copied value, right? But if you look at the reference is something like you are having a common memory. So from main, you are accessing maybe it's as a, but from your function f, you are accessing it as a j. So if you make change on j or I, both the changes. So just I want to show here. So if I have a I here in the main function, this I refer to this memory, and I suppose pass this I, which will be copied here into the j. So this memory also is referred as a j. So if I make change to j, so definitely the value of I also will be changed, which is there in the main, right? So that's basically reference called. So it's having a side effect. Any changes made on the reference, that will be reflected on your main variable also. Along with that, you are having a heap. So whenever you think of a stack, just if you look at like this is the memory and this is your stack. Stack normally goes downwards. So each time you're making a call, so main is there, main is calling the function f. So another activation record will be pushed. Now if is calling something f1, again it will be pushed. Now f1 is done, it will be popped out. So control will be given to f. Now you can understand this stack is something which is flexible, which will grow whenever you make a function call, and whenever functions return, it syncs automatically. So it required a free pool of memory. So you can understand this much memory is right now free, right? This much memory is right now free to use. So this much memory will be called as a heap. So heap is a free pool of memory available to your stack. So whenever your stack want to expand, from where it will take the memory, it will take the memory from the heap. So other than that, any kind of dynamic memory allocation has to happen from the heap, right? And whenever you are going for a dynamic memory allocation, you should be careful about deallocating the variable, right? See, for the local variable, you don't have to think about the memory deallocation, because see, you're called the f, so I and j is already allocated for the function f. But moment the f is end, the entire memory will be popped out. So I and j will be automatically deallocated or it gets free. So memory and management for the local variables are automatic. The memory management for the local variables are automatic. The moment you will call the function, the activation record will be created. So where all the variables will be allocated, which are there inside your function. And the moment your function will return, the activation record will be totally deleted, right? So that's why all the memory you have allocated for the function will be deallocated. So you don't have to manage it, in the sense you don't have to allocate it or deallocate it. But since the dynamic allocations has to be done explicitly, like in C, if you have done it's a malloc, C++ we use a new, right? So if you have to do explicitly, then you have to free it also explicitly. So you have to take care of deallocation also. But all the language do not require a explicit deallocation, because programming like language like a Java or Python also comes up with a garbage collector. So whenever it finds inside the heap any variable is allocated which is not in use, it automatically considered it as a garbage, and any garbage will be cleaned. Any garbage will be cleaned. So that's basically called as a garbage collection, right? So I just want to repeat this part. I want to repeat this part. See, first of all, heap is a free pool of memory. So whenever stack is growing, it eats up the memory from the heap. Now you can ask like there is also a limit for the heap. Yeah, that's a limit of a heap. So that's why if I do a uncontrolled recursion, you find the stack overflow. Means you have eat up all the memories available on the heap, right? So that's a kind of thing. Now the second thing is you can do dynamic allocation on the heap. So if you want to do a dynamic allocation, it's an explicit allocation. So you have to do deallocation also explicitly. Again, I told for the local variables, you don't have to do allocation. Since you do not do the allocation, you don't have to do the freeing job also, the deallocation also. Because the moment you call the function f, activation record will be allocated, which will have memory allocated for all the local variables of function f. And the moment the f returns, it terminates. I don't say terminate. Terminate means a different thing. When the hello, yeah, the moment f will return, what will happen? This entire memory, the activation record will be popped out. So all the memory will goes off, right? But for heap, you have to explicitly free it up. But the programming language like a Java having something called as a automatic garbage collector, right? So what is that service? So whenever you are having memory allocated on the heap, but that are not under the use, you are not using it, right? So they will be treated or called as a garbage. And any garbage you have, that has to be collected by your garbage collector. So that's why the name came garbage collection. So anything from week 3? Yeah.
Sir, I
Yeah.
have little considered the activation record and control pointer movement while I was putting that. Control point and activation record.
Control point.
Control link.
Yeah, once your activation record, the function is end, right? You have to send the control back to the caller function, right? So that's why your current activation record keeps a pointer where it should return back, right? So caller is always the immediate one, right? So if main is calling f, so f should return back control to the main, right? Again, f is calling f1, then f1 should return the control to f. So that is your control link supposed to do.
Suppose the two parallel are, those two functions are running in parallel, and whether pointer will go, control link will.
If you want to say parallel in the sense, you want to say there are multiple process or multiple threads.
Multiple methods working in
Multiple
parallel.
methods you cannot run, no? You need to do multi-threading or multi-processing for that. It's a sequential process, right? One thread after another. Sorry, one function after another. Can you run two functions simultaneously without having threads or process? Multi-processing?
Threads I don't know, because this I encountered in the timer type
No,
timer.
no. Have you anywhere seen that two functions are running simultaneously?
In the timer section, it is running in parallel. It is
No, it do
mentioned.
not run parallel. It
Okay.
runs in a interleaved way, but that is also not interleaved. We call some part of the first function, then go execute the second function, then back to the first function
Okay.
again. It same like. So
Okay.
from main, at this point I make call to the function, then I execute this, I return back, I do the rest of the part of it.
Okay. And in each activation record, only the method is called, right? Not other things. Variables will be there
For
and methods
each
will be there.
method or function call, our activation record will be allocated.
Okay. Only for the method or function, not for
Function
other
calls, yeah.
function call.
Because
Only for that.
its purpose is to store the local variables inside your functions.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
And it also manages the function call management. We say function call management. So you're calling a function, so you should know once the function is ended where I should return my control, return my value, etc. Right? Those information will be also there.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So I have a doubt here.
Yeah.
It's not a doubt, it's just a clarification, because in the
Yeah.
lectures, what Sir has described is based on this heap is based on the linked list data structures. Now, since we are doing object oriented program, suppose I create an instance of an object that'll be stored in heap.
Yeah.
And I'll allocate a variable to it.
Yeah.
That'll be in stack.
Yeah.
So if I have a method which returns that object, so that will get popped out of the stack.
No. I'll just
And
draw it.
okay,
One
so
minute. Let me draw it.
Yeah.
So I'm having this. I'll have obj. So this is stack. And this is my, I take just different color. This is my, suppose, heap area.
Right.
I'll have obj. So
OBJ
somewhere my
reference.
object got created. Although I write it as a box, it may not be look like a box. And we store a reference like this.
Reference, right.
Yeah. Now you're saying, suppose it is within a function.
Then a method where
I execute it. And the time it is over. Suppose take only this. I don't return it. The function is over. Right. So what will happen? This memory is deleted. So reference also will be lost. Right.
Right.
Now, since the reference is lost, this object will be treated as an object and it will be collected by the garbage collector. That's the first case.
Got it.
The second case, you create the object. Here is your object created. You got the reference. Now you return this. Returns obj. Now, whenever you're returning from the main, whenever you're calling this, you should have some a, small a, equal to function. You should call it like this. Right. So that means on the top of this, there is a main. This is for f. And there is also a value a. Now, since it will return the thing, a also holds the reference to this. Now, this will be deleted, means this reference is off. Right? So it will give the reference back to the a. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Got it. Something like the constructor comes in between. Suppose we have a constructor, then the once the constructor is over, then the reference goes to A. Is that what you're trying to say, sir?
No, constructor I haven't called. I'm calling the function f. Right?
Okay.
So for a, the
Okay.
memory is allocated. So obj is then allocated. Then the object got created. I have a reference. Now,
Right.
whenever I'm returning the reference get back, it will be copied into a.
Right.
Then I free this memory. But I have already holding a reference to this, right?
Reference. Okay.
So I don't have any problem. So obj I cannot have, do not have. So using obj I cannot access this, but I can access it using a. So if I have some method, I can still call it, right?
Right. So got
And
it.
this memory is not a garbage because it's having a reference.
Reference. Right.
So until and unless the reference count is 0, it is not a garbage. The moment it becomes a reference count 0, so it becomes like a first node of the linked list, and you have lost the address of the first node, right? There is no way to track it because you don't know the address of it, right?
Right.
So you have to maintain at least one reference such that you will be able to access it. It's some kind of a handler kind of thing, right?
Right. Got it. Sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
let us go next. Okay, so we have gone to the week 4. So week 4, we are having the modularity approach. So what we do whenever we are having a complex problem, we go on breaking it into sub problems, and we do break into components, then a module, a sub module like this. Whenever until and unless we are having a very straightforward kind of problem which could be solved. And whenever we build our subtasks, then we'll combine it. We'll go in a bottom up way. Then those components will be combined into module. Modules will be combined into something. Right. So that is the way we build up. Now, whenever we go for a modular approach, we just come across 3 terms: prototype. So we create the prototype for each of the components, which will be designed in parts. So prototype is for the validation. So have I achieved like what is intended to be achieved by a component? Right? It's some kind of a specification, you can say. Now, components could be developed in isolation. Like, so my company given a job to me, a component, suppose there is a project, so a component A is assigned to me. I'm there in Kolkata, I'm working on it, and maybe you're in Delhi, you're working on a component B. But my component wants to talk to your component. So shall I call you and try to understand what is your code? No. So both will make public or interfaces, right? I should say these are my methods. Methods means not the implementation of the methods. I'll just I should share my prototypes, right, with you. So I should say I'm having a sum method. You can pass 2 variables and you'll get an integer, which is a result. I'm having a division. You pass 2 integer, you get returns or get a double as a things. So interface are some kind of exposing the prototypes of your operations to another component. So as your component B, developer of a component B, you don't have to know how I have written my component A, but you know there is a function called a sum, and if you pass to integer, he get back the integer. That's sufficient. So that's interface, and interface should works as per the specification. So it determines the behavior of the component. So specifications say how should I implement my methods, and the prototype of the methods are basically the interfaces, right? And how do I validate? I would validate the design through the prototypes. Now, whenever we talk about the abstraction, there is 2 terms of abstraction. First is control abstraction, which is important, but not so much important from the view of object-oriented programming. So you can achieve control abstraction in terms of function or procedures, right? Instead of exposing your code, you create a function and maybe giving the function prototype to somebody to call your function, right? So that's a kind of abstraction. And secondly, you can have a data abstraction, which is more valuable in terms of object orientation. So data abstraction could be achieved in terms of ADT, because I told in ADT you will have some kind of basic type or collection types which will be hidden from the outsider, So people should not know for implementing my stack, I'm using a stack, I'm using a array or a linked list or whatever else. But they should understand the interface. In that way, they should understand they can call two methods, that's a pop and a push and pop. So push says you can insert you can just send a integer as an argument, and pop says it returns an integer to you. So some signature will be given to you, right? So that's separating the implementation from the interfaces, and interfaces are public. The implementation is always hidden, right? So interaction is restricted to the public interfaces. Internal representation cannot be accessible from the outsider. So that's basically the data abstraction. Now, object orientation is basically having a lot of abstract data types which are arranged in the form of a tree, right? Tree structure. So why it is a tree structure? Because we are realizing inheritance and subtyping. Because we are realizing inheritance and subtyping. So we are having ADT1, which is inherited by ADT2, which is inherited by also ADT3, maybe something with the ADT4. So this is the hierarchy or tree inside the object orientation. Is let us realize the subtyping and inheritance, this thing. So from the point of object oriented view or implementation point of view, there is not much difference between subtyping and inheritance. So difference between the subtyping and inheritance from the point of view of a concept, but implementation wise it's mostly the same. Okay. So next, in object oriented program, objects are what? It's basically some kind of realization of some kind of abstract data type. So it's basically an instance of an opt class, right? So it's a realization of some kind of abstract data type, so which will have some hidden data and some public operations, right? And all the interaction should be in terms of message passing, method call, etc. These are the very few things we'll discuss later. I'm not telling this now. Object provides an abstraction. That's the key concept of the objects. So you'll have the public interface, you'll have private implementation, and implementation could be changed any point of time, but we do not change the interface. So inside the stack, right, the interfaces are push and pop, but implementation of push and pop are private, right? So currently there is an implementation of push and pop using a array, but after few days the developer realized that it's not memory efficient, so they replace the implementation using a linked list. But the user may be unaware of like how it is internally happening, because the call they may steal the call to the push and pop without knowing it's a linked list or array implementation internally. So it gives a reusability. You're getting the point, right? So it's simple way. You go to ATM, you know, you insert the card, dial the this thing like pin and all, you will get the money. So if I say like every bank or for each different kind of card, there is a different kind of ATM. So there is a difficult because you need to remember the procedure for each and everything. So they have created a common interface. So all the ATM look similar kind of operations they have. But internally, like whenever we go for a specific bank, the transaction happens in a different way. So you don't bother how the transaction or actual implementation is happening. You're only bother about how the interface look like, right? So it's a simple way. I'm having a remote control and I'm pressing some button on the remote control to change the channel inside my television, right? So I can have similar kind of remote control for another television or something else, but the procedure remains the same. But internal technique inside my television may be changed. Now we come back to this subtyping and inheritance. Let us go again this subtyping and inheritance. Last I'll discuss the dynamic lookup. Now normally people having the confusion between the subtyping and inheritance. Again, I try to repeat the same thing. In object-oriented program, they will be initialized through the inheritance only, right? Both the things. So there is not much difference as far as the implementation. But the clear difference is through the concept. We say subtyping is basically is a relation between the interfaces, and implementation is inheritance is basically relation between the implementation. Because inheritance, the use of inheritance is to reuse your code. Now code is the implementation, right? So you are having an employee class, you don't want to rewrite the code but copy the same thing into a manager class, right? So you do inherit it. So what it inherits, it inherits the implementation, it copy the implementation. So inheritance is an example of an implementation. But since for a program the interface and the implementations are comes together, like the signature is basically the interface what we expose to the outsider, and implementation is the code, so both are binded, right, in object oriented syntax. So both will be done in the same time. So if I look conceptually, what is the inheritance? It's a reusability of the code implementations. But subtyping says is a specialization. So I say A is a subtype of B. That means A will have everything what B is having. A can have something more, but at least it has to be having the same thing what B is having. So that's why anywhere you need B, you can also use A, right? That's the concept. It's so in another way, you can also say if you have X is a subset of Y, so Y must be having everything of X, or and the another way you can say Y is a superset of X. So that's why I'll say this is a subtype and this is my type, because the subtype should have everything of X. It may have something extra, but at least everything of X must be there inside this. But reverse is not true. Now dynamic lookup is very conceptual and it's very much required in the sense for clear understanding of coding. So I'll just go for a simple two-line code. Suppose I have a class employee, so I'm not writing the full thing. So I'm having a public void if. I have some implementation. I'm having class M which extends E. I can have a public. So this is the overriding, right, of function f. Okay. Now suppose I make a call like e obj equal to new m. This is possible because reference can points to its own object or child object. So here basically obj is pointing to a child object, right? Now if I make obj dot f, so what will happen? So here basically the role of this dynamic lookup comes. So there are two aspects. First is what will happen in the compile time. First aspect is what will happen in the compile time. So compiler do not know where this obj is pointing to, because until and unless you run your program, nothing is allocated, none of the object is created. So what compiler checks? Do the obj having the capability to call the function f? Do the object obj have a capability to call the function f? So how it can check out? The simple way checks out what is the data type or static or compile type data type of static type of obj. If I say static type of obj, that's E, or compile type, because in compile type it doesn't have the knowledge that it is actually pointing to the object of M, right? So it comes to know obj of its type of E, so it goes into E, find out if is there. So that's how it determines now obj having the capability to call F. That's all done. Now we start the program. Now actually now my runtime comes to know, although the static type of obj is E, but actually it is pointing to object of M. So the dynamic type of obj is actually M. So that's why though the checking happens from the E, The call will happen from the invocation will happen from the object type. So it calls this instance, right? So that's why if you don't have this declaration over here in the parent class, this will generate a compiler error. This will generate a compiler error because compiler do not know where it will point to at the runtime. So it checks what type it is. So if I just say what is the type of obj, it's a type of E. So it find out does the E having the capability to call the function f. So that has to be fulfilled, then only the program will run. But in the runtime, we checks out where the obj is pointing to. If obj is pointing to an object of m, it will be called from a m. If obj is pointing to object of e, it will be called from a e. So that's basically the dynamic lookup do.
Sir, one
Yeah.
doubt in the previous slide, sir, where you written. Can you go to that slide, sir?
Here.
The initial. So here, if suppose we had written m object is equal to new e, that would have given an error because like a manager cannot be. It means that we are assigning.
See, it's a simple way. If this is a reference and this is a object, this is a t, this is a m, right?
Yes, sir.
Then t has to be equal to m, either the same or m should be a subtype of t.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, it's a error.
Okay.
Right. So the object should be of the same type of the reference or should be of a child type.
So here in the equation, basically E is the subtype of M. If we have to say, because M will have additional.
No. Where?
In the first equation, sir, E object is equal to like every M can be a E, but every E cannot be a M. Is that right, sir? Like if it has additional properties. For example, class M have some additional properties other than E, then we can say that
every object of type A is also of object B. So if A is a subtype of B, then every object is of A is an object of B. That means every object of M also is an object of E.
Yes,
right?
Sir. Yes,
so
sir.
any object of M could be referred by E. That's a simple way.
But the
subtype is M, right? Subtype
Yes.
is M, not E.
Yes, sir. So that is what I'm asking, sir. The vice versa, like every object of E cannot be an object of M.
No.
That is what.
Because M could have more things, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
like
sir.
it could have a F, G, whereas E is having only F.
Yes, sir. So here we can say that
I can say M is also a E, but E is not a M.
Yes, sir. So basically E becomes the subtype of M, not M. M is not that subtype of E.
No, M is the subtype of E, right? Because every M can be presented by a E.
Okay. Understood, sir. Okay.
Okay, so week 1 is done. So shall I go sequentially or you want me to complete?
Yeah, better to go sequentially. No, sir.
Yeah. So Nalini, I'll just get a 5-minute break. You can continue.
Yeah, sure, sir.
I'll just run
Sure.
with you.
Yeah.
Subtyping, sir, I will. Hello.
Yes, I will be back in few minutes. Yeah, meanwhile, we can look week 2 content summary. So basically, week 2 is like introduction to Java programming. It starts with like how to create like class and how to print the hello world to the console. So it basically starts with that. So in order to print some statement in Java, everything should be enclosed in a class. So basically, we have created one class with the name hello world. This is a class. So class is followed by the class name. The keyword class is used to create the class. And we can use the access specifier like public. We can say whether the class is public or private or anything. But basically, classes are public. And the point of execution of the Java code starts from the main method. So inside the main method, you will write whatever you wanted to print or you wanted to do. So this is a syntax to create a main method in the Java. So it has like the name, main is the name of the method and it has some return type. So void, the main method does not return anything, so the return type is void, and it takes a string array of args. So these are the parameters, and these are access specifier. Why it is static? Because we won't create any object in order to invoke the main method, so it is static. And this method is public because we need to access it from anywhere. And inside the main method we will just write the statement system.out.println hello world. This is a statement in order to print the hello world. Okay, so basically anything in the Java program should be inside a class. So Java program is nothing but a collection of classes, and all the code in the Java lives within a class. And modifier, I have already mentioned, modifier public specifies the visibility. That means you can access this class or method from anywhere. The signature of main method, like it takes the input as string array of arguments. It's take input as string array, and the return type of the method is void. Like it does not return anything, so the return type is void. So the Java code is like we can write once and run anywhere, because it is not OS specific. It is like it is JV, it is not OS specific. That's why we can write on any system and we can run on any system. And these are the 8 primitive types in Java. They are like
My,
in, yeah, yeah,
my one question. In the main method, we are signature is void, but actually we if we run, then it prints hello world. Then
yeah.
this is returning hello world, na?
It is not returning, it is printing to the console. That we won't say it is returning something, it is just printing to the console.
Now,
That
what is the
printing
meaning? What is the meaning of returning and
anything
printing?
else.
Printing is
So
okay.
printing is not, see, if a method returns, so let us take example of sum or something, sum of a comma b int a comma b. When we invoke this method, then it will return an integer which is sum of a and b. So it basically
Yeah.
returns an integer when we invoke this method. So basically we will store, like when we invoke sum of 2 comma 3, we should store it in some index or some variable. But when we call the main method, we won't use any variable to hold this value hello world. It will just print to the console. That is not, that's why we are not specifying it as like it returns something. It does not
Okay.
return
Okay.
anything.
It,
Yeah,
it does not remain in the memory exactly, right?
yeah, we are not storing it anywhere, it is just printing to the console. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Got
Yeah,
it. Thank you.
yeah. So everything is not object in Java. So we have this primitive types as well. These are not objects. So int, long, short, and byte are primitive types. These are primitive types. Int, long, short, byte. These are for numbers. Float and double are for decimal points. Like if you wanted to store some decimal numbers, like 10 point floating point numbers or some numbers 10.23 or something, then we should use double. Yeah, so basically these are for decimal values, and int, long, and fractional values. This float and double are for fractional values, and int, long are normally for numbers like 12, 13, something like that, normal values. So actually we will, byte is like the memory size of byte is very less, and later the memory size of short is less, and later int is less, and then long. In order to store very long integers, we will use the long. So you can check the what the memory size and what are their precisions, and then you can allocate memory accordingly. And character is to store characters. These are like, so x something, x or y or anything, or percentile or something symbols. If you wanted to store, these are called characters, and you should enclose them in single quotes. And boolean, these are basically true or false. These are true comma false values only, booleans. Yeah. So yeah, in Java is static typed language, no, statically typed language. So type of the variable should be declared in advance before we use them. So if you are going to use some like x or y in your program, you should specify what is the type of x or type of y before using them. So basically it is already given, no, x and y are of type integer. So before using the variables in our program, we should specify the type of the variables in advance. That is called static typing, no. Yeah. A boolean, just boolean constants. Boolean takes only two values, they are true and false. So yeah, we can initialize boolean to true or false. That's all the values it can take. Is it clear for everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
clear.
Yeah. So we can, previously what I have shown is just we are first declaring the variables. That means we are specifying the type of variables x and y. We are specifying it as integer. But here we can initialize those variables at the time of declaration itself. So I can say pi, this pi is a float, and I can simultaneously initialize it with some value as well, 3.14, that value also. So we can declare the variables, or we can declare and initialize the variables simultaneously. Yeah. So modifier final is used to
Is
is
there any default value for Boolean? Like for integer, we have 0, and for string, we have null. Is there any default value for Boolean? Is it true or false?
um, so I'm not sure of this, but you can check. How to check is you can create a class, and then you can take boolean b1 as instance variable, and just without initializing it in the constructor, you can just print the value, and you will get whether you will find what its value is. Yeah, I will just show
It
that.
is default
It is
false.
false. It
False.
is
Yeah.
false.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So these are the arithmetic operators in Java. Like basically in other programming languages also we have these operators. So plus, minus, and this star, and this slash and percentile. This plus operator is used to perform addition. This is binary operator. That means it takes two values and gives the addition of that two operands, like 2 plus 3 or 5 plus 6, something we can do, no. So it is binary operator. And minus also it performs a subtraction of the two numbers whatever we gave. And star denotes for multiplication, so we can perform the multiplication of two numbers by using this star. And we can perform division by using this slash operator. And modulo, this is percentile. This percentile denotes if. This is modulo operator, that means it gives a reminder. uh, so if we divide 2 by 2 percentile 3, then it gives a reminder when 2 is divided by 3, that reminder will be 0, right? 2, right? Reminder is 0. 2, sorry. Yeah. So it gives a reminder. So yeah, it gives a reminder of two numbers. And no separate integer division like Python. In Python, if we say double slash, then it will give the integer division, no. But if both if both operands are integers, then it will give integer only. If we say 2 by 3, then it will give the quotient, no. Quotient is 0 only. Okay, if we say something like 10 by 5, then it will give 2 as answer. But if we say 10.0 by 5, then it will give 2.0. If we say 10 by 5.0, then it will give 2.0. That means if both operands are integers, then our answer will be also an integer. If either one of them, if either one of the operand is some double or anything, then the result also will be in double. So if both are in double, then you will get the double value only. Okay. There is no separate integer division operator. In order to do integer division, we can simply use two integers as our operands. And yeah, in order to perform exponentiation, unlike in Python, we will use double star, no, 2 double star 3 will give 2 power 3 output. But in Java, we have only this math.pow. So we will say math.pow of some number 2 comma 3. If I say math.pow of 2 comma 3, it will perform 2 power 3 and will give the result. So here you can see math dot power of a comma n returns a power n. So it will give that as output. And special operators for incrementing and decrementing. So we can use plus plus and minus minus operators. So these are unary operators. So that means it takes only one operand. We can say here int a equal to 0. So a is initialized to 0, and later if you say a plus plus, then a value will be incremented. So what it will happen, a equal to a plus 1 will happen. So now a value is 0 plus 1. Now the a value will be 1. So that's what. It is same as a equal to a plus 1. Similarly, b minus minus means it is same as b equal to b minus 1. So it will be 10 minus 1 and the value of b will be 9. So these are unary operators. That means it takes only one operand. And shortcut for updating the variable. That means if you wanted to say a equal to a plus some 10 or something, then instead of writing a equal to a plus 10, you can say a plus equal to 10. That means it is shortcut. It is shortcut to perform this a equal to a plus 7. Yeah, same for minus also, subtraction also. You can say instead of doing a equal to a minus 10, you can say a minus equal to 10. This is not same as a equal to minus 10. This is not same. A equal to plus 10. These are different. This means a value is plus 10. But if I say a plus equal to 10, that means it is equal to a plus 10. A value should be incremented by 10. A equal to plus 10 denotes just a takes the positive 10. That's all. Yeah. Is it clear?
Can we do this for the modulo also? A modulo equal
Yes.
to
Yes. You can say a modulo equal to whatever you can
it will work.
3 or
It will work.
something. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Second thing, for in the arithmetic operation, the sequence of operation will be like mod mass or different here.
Yeah, it will be board mass only. So first
Mod
it will yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Uh, So coming to this objects, so basically we have seen now primitive types, now integer, float, doubles, everything. But now strings are objects. They are built-in class. Like we have not defined the string class, that automatically comes in Java. So it is a built-in class in Java. String is a built-in class. And in order to what? Define strings, in order to create object of strings, instead of saying string s equal to new string something like that, you can simply say this also, string s equal to hello, or string t equal to world, something like that. You can initialize it as primitives instead of creating object and everything. Yeah, this is allowed. You can do in this way also, string s equal to hello, something like that also you can specify, or else you can just say string is equal to hello. That's all, instead of mentioning new string or something like that. So plus operator is, for strings, plus operator performs string concatenation. If we say hello, plus 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 some word or something, then it performs string concatenation. It will append both the strings. Hello world, we will get the output. So strings are not array of characters. So you cannot say s of 0 or s of 1, something like that. You cannot access the strings, the characters of string by its index. Like, yeah, strings are not array of characters. So you cannot directly access by using this notations s of 0 or s of 1. Instead of that, there are some other methods, like in order to access the characters at particular index, so you can say s dot caret of 0. That means it will give the character at 0th index, that is h. If I say s dot caret of 1, it will give the character at first index, that is e. Yeah. So in order to get the substrings, we can say, like, if you wanted to get this WOR as output, so you can say s dot substring. In order to get this substring, you can use this method, s dot substring of The starting index is 0 and the ending index is like uh, this is like 0 1 2, no, but then the ending index is 2. You want the up to till to second index only. But while using this method you should mention s dot substring of 0 comma 3. This last index is not inclusive, it will be last index minus 1. So you will get the characters from 0th index to second index only. So WOR will be returned if I say s dot or whatever the string. If I say, if it is s, then if I say s dot substring of 0 comma 3, then you will get WOR. Only till second index you will get the last index is not inclusive. These are few useful methods in strings. Yeah, any doubt from strings?
Ma'am, this S caret and S substring. The substring and caret is the method defined in the string class,
Yes.
inbuilt
Yeah.
method.
Yes. They are methods
So
defined
with
inside the string class.
this capital A is required to write at capital A, right? In the substring, there is no capital letter.
Uh, yes.
So
This is the
this,
method. Yeah, this is the method names, no? Yeah.
okay, already defined in that. Okay.
Yeah. So arrays are also objects. In order to create integer array, you can use this denotion like int array of a, or you can say int a array. This two denotions you can, in order to define any array, you can use this two type of denotions. These both are valid only. So basically arrays are objects, no, you will use a equal to new int of some array size you will mention, like 10 or something, any array size you can mention. So actually they are objects, that's why you are using new here. uh, so instead of that you can say, you can directly initialize at the time of declaration itself. So you can say 10 12, you can give some values also at the time of declaration itself. This denotes the a array has this elements. Okay, previously I forgot to tell, the strings are immutable. Whenever you change some any value of your string, a new string will be created. So yeah, if you say, if you replace any other character of your string, then the new string will be created. So it won't be the same string. Yeah. So a dot length. In order to find the length of your array, you will use a dot length. But for strings, you will use s dot length function. That is method you will use for strings in order to find the length of string. This is in order to find the length of array. You will use this a dot length, which is an instance variable in array class. This is function. This is method in string class. Okay, that's why you are not using brackets here. Array indices are from 0 to a dot length minus 1. So in order to access the first element of your array, you will say a of 0. In order to access the last element of your array, it will be 0 1 2 3. So 3. But what is the length of a? It is 4. So last index is a of length minus a dot length minus 1. Okay, is it clear for everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Suppose we write a dot length
Uh,
method. Then what will it return or give error? A
it will
dot
give
length method.
error. It will give error
Okay.
because yeah, it is
Okay.
not method in array. That's why. Yeah.
So, hmm,
Yeah.
that's
So these are like, you can use if else, if else loop, not if else loop, if else conditional statements in order to do conditional execution of your program. Like if followed by some condition, you can specify if that condition is true, you can write the lines, some lines, whatever lines you wanted to execute, you can write here. Yeah, if the condition is not true, you can write what thing you have to do inside the else block. So in order to perform the conditional execution, you will use if else block. uh, so yeah, so if can be followed by else, or there cannot be else also. So you can have only if. It may not be followed by else as well. That's also possible. Yeah, in order to do the what iterations, you will use while loop, or for loop also can be used. But the while loop is a conditional loop. That means it will check for a condition. If the condition is true, then only the statements inside the loop will be executed. Yeah, do while loop is used. So what do while loop does is like some condition here. So okay, some condition here. It will first execute the blocks of the statements. It performs execution of these statements, and then later it will check for the condition. So first execution will happen, one time execution of this lines, whatever enclosed in the do loop, it will happen. But if the condition has while loop condition has become false, then the statements won't be executed. The thing is like, uh, one time execution of this do while loop will happen even if the condition is not true. So for loop is also used for iteration. So while loop will be mostly it will be used if we don't know the number of iterations. But for loop can be used if we know the number of iterations. Suppose we wanted to iterate till if you wanted to iterate 10 times, you can say you can take some variable int I, and I less than 10 and I plus plus you can do, and you can iterate fixed number of times by using this for loop. Yeah, there are two kinds of for loop. One is this normal for loop and other is like for each loop. So in order to access the element of integer array or something, you can say for int x is to a is integer array, no? So you can do some operation, you can print it, or you can say x equal to x plus 3 something, you can update your array or anything. This is for each loop. Instead of writing this int I equal to 0, I less than a dot length, in order like you need to iterate from first element to last element of your array, no? So it will be starting index will be 0 and ending will index will be 8, that length of that array minus 1, no? So you can use that for loop, and you can do, or else you can just use this for each loop and you can iterate over the array also. So there are these two kinds of for loop in Java. And yeah, so if by using if, we can do only like we can just check for a condition. But in order to do this multi-way branching, you can do the switch case. That so switch is used for multi-way branching. I hope everyone know right how the switch works. In,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah.
In the for loop, one more way is to, x is to x colon,
Hmm.
x colon something. Then
This one,
it
no?
works for the yeah, this one,
Yeah.
it works. Yeah,
Yeah, it
okay,
will work.
okay.
Yeah.
The int is required here to write the type, or we can write it externally also. Suppose we declare int x and then we do x is to a. It will work.
Yes, it will work. So you are telling int x you will mention here, and
Here
then
and then
later you will say
only
it
x.
as x. Yeah, I have not checked, but mostly I think it will work. You can check that
Okay,
once.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Coming to classes and objects, you all know, right? Class is a template. In order to create object, the class is a template, and objects are instances of this class. So basically, in order to create a class, we will use this keyword class followed by the name of the class. So this is keyword and this is the name of the class. It has instance variables. These are instance variables. And this is constructor. So how to identify constructor? Constructor has same name as your class name. Both has same name, class name. This is a special method. Why it is called a special method? Because it has some name. It has name, right? Constructor has name. It also takes some arguments, but it doesn't have any return type. it doesn't have any return type. So it is similar to method, like we can perform some operations also if we want, but generally we won't do. The basic function of constructor is to initialize the variables, this instance variables. Yeah, there can be methods also in class.
We can write here public void date also.
Where here, then that won't
Yeah.
become, it won't
Construct
become, yeah,
in
it will.
constructor. Can we write public
No, you
void date?
cannot. Yeah, if we mention it as void, then it won't be constructor. It will be a method.
Okay, okay. If
Yeah,
return type is there.
yeah. If it is return type is there, then it is not a constructor. It is a method. So each object will have its own local copy of instance variables. So let us take, if I have created object date d1, then it will have its own values for day, month, and year. If I say date d2, d2 will have separate values for day, month, and year. So each object will have its own local copies of date, month, and year. In order to create an object, you will use this keyword new. So how to create object date d1 equal to new date of, and you are invoking. There is only one constructor in this class, no, date. That is three argument constructor, and it takes integers. All the three arguments are integers, so you should pass those integers while creating objects.
An
Okay.
instance variable will always be private in a
Yeah, it
class.
is recommended. It is recommended to make them as private. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We may have public also, but it is recommended to make the
Yeah.
private for that particular class, right? Is it so, no?
Yeah. It is basically recommended to make instance variables as private, because if we make them as private, the others cannot see this data, no? Actually these instance variables are data of this class. So basically, like, in order to do like achieve the encapsulation, we will make the instance variables as private and the methods as public. That means data should not be accessible to others, right? So that's why we will, it is recommended to make it them as private.
Encapsulation means that within the class. This is meant for that class particularly. That is called encapsulation, right?
And no,
What do you infer from the encapsulation?
so
Encapsulation is
encapsulation
public.
means data should be private. Data, like, we should, like, data should not be accessible. We should not access the data from outside of that class. Only data should be within the, like, only within the class we should be able to access the data. The out from outside we should not be able to access the data. But by using the
Object,
methods, yeah.
object is encapsulated or the whole class is encapsulated? I mean to ask this one.
See,
The whole
basically we
class is
use
encapsulated.
class, we will use this class and objects like interchangeably, right? So
Oh,
basically,
okay, okay, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, got it, got it. Class is also an object. Object is also an object. Everything is an object, right? Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, class is just a template to create object. Yeah. If the, like, in order to achieve encapsulation, we will make the private data as private and the methods as public. So objects, for objects, like, for every object also, like, data will be private, and this methods, whatever the operations that we perform on the object, will be public, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Constructors are special functions which I have already mentioned. It will be the constructors are invoked whenever an object is created. So you can define n number of constructors in your classes, any number of constructors in your class. So there can be multiple constructor within a class. So this is like three argument constructor, no, it takes three argument. You can define one argument constructor or two argument constructor or zero argument constructor, or like any number of argument constructor. This is called constructor overloading. Why it is called overloading? Because all the constructors will have same name as your class name, that is date, no, here. Yeah, they will have the same name as your class name, but different signatures. Why they are different? Because the number of arguments which you pass to every constructor will be different. For 0 argument constructor, there will be no arguments. For a 1 argument constructor, it will be 1, no? So all the constructors will have same name but different signatures. So it is called constructor overloading. In order to call one constructor from another constructor, you can use this. You can use the keyword this. So if there is one argument constructor, you can call the one argument constructor using this of here inside the constructor. If there is two argument constructor which takes two integers, then you can say this of 2 comma 3 from this constructor. Then this constructor invokes the two argument constructor. Basically, you can call a constructor from another constructor using this keyword. So in your class, if you are not defining any constructors, then JVM will provide a default constructor. That means this constructor will not have any arguments. If no constructor is written in your class here, then JVM will give default constructor. Actually, the purpose of this default constructor is to set the values of instance variable. No, if no constructor is defined, then the purpose of default constructor is it will set the values of instance variables to some default values. For integers, it will be 0. For floats, it will be 0.0f. Yeah. Similarly, for double, it will be 0.0 something. It will be for objects. It will be null. It will be set. It will set the values of instance variables to some default values. Okay, there is one more constructor which is called as a copy constructor. The purpose of the copy constructor is to create create an object, new object from the existing one. So if we wanted, okay, let's say we have date d1 equal to new date of some values here 12/3/23 some values. If you wanted to create date d2 using d1, you can say you can use the copy constructor which takes the date as argument, the date object as argument, and it will set the whatever the values of this d2 day and month and year to d1 days and month and year. So this is a copy constructor. The copy constructor, as it is a constructor, it will have the same name as your class name, and it takes the another object, date object. Here it is not taking ints, no, it is not taking ints, but it is taking another date object and setting the values of the days to the this d dot whatever the argument which we have passed. So this dot day equal to d dot day, this dot month equal to d dot month. That means d2 day and month will be same as d1's date and month and year. So the thing is different. If we have some objects here, then this kind of assignment will create some problem. If we change the value of d1 if we change the value of d1, then the value will be changed in d2 also. In order to avoid that, we will do like we will create first. We will assign memory to this instance variable, whatever the object that is there, and then we will do the copying. You can watch it in the like already the tagged live session. It is already given like how to do this. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, as it is revision session which we have already covered, no, it will be waste of time if I discuss again. So
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
watch it.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, in order to take the input, we will use the scanner and console class. Basically, scanner class is mostly used in our course. Yeah. So in order to take the input, you first need to create the scanner object by using this syntax scanner some any variable name, any name to this sc or in equal to new scanner of system.in. And then you can, in order to take the string as input, you can say as in dot next or in dot next line. So basically, in dot next line reads, okay, it will tell me, it won't take in, okay, if you say some Manoj space Rahul, so it will take only Manoj as input. Whenever it has encountered this space, then it will stop receiving this. Okay. Okay, string name equal to in dot next. If I say, then it will read only till it has encountered space. So it will take Manoj in the place of name. Okay, this Rahul won't be taken. But in order to avoid that, you can use in dot next line. In dot next line will take Manoj and Rahul. Even after encountering spaces, it won't stop taking that. It will take this as well. It will take this input as well. But whenever it has seen some enter here, like if we would say here something Rajesh or something, then it will stop taking here input. So only Manoj and Rahul will be taken. After seeing the enter, then enter character, it will stop taking that input. Okay. And in order to take some double as input, you will say in dot next double, in dot next float in order to take floating points, in dot next int in order to take integers as input. You can explore the methods also, whatever that are there. Yeah, that's all from the week 2. If you have any doubts, you can ask. If not, we'll move to the other week. Okay, I hope it is clear. So from week 3, lot of concepts are already covered in week 1. So it starts, week 3 will starts from discussing like about object oriented programming and structured programming. So in the structured programming, algorithms comes first, and so basically we will write the procedures, or we will write the algorithms in order to perform some operations. Let us take, if you wanted to perform sorting, so you will define that whole the algorithm first, and then you will mention, later you will mention on which data you wanted to perform sorting. So here the algorithms come first and the data representation comes later. Here that we will design the set of procedure to perform some specific task and combine them to build some complex systems. And later we will design data structure in order to suit that procedure manipulation. That means we will see on, after defining the sorting algorithms, we will see which date on which data structure. Some echo is coming. Yeah, Riti, can you please mute? Yeah, sure. Thanks. So yeah, then first we will define the sorting algorithm, and then later we will decide on which all data structure we can use this sorting algorithm. Okay, that is structured programming. But in object oriented programming, we will first identify our data. We will first give importance to our data, and then we will identify what all things we can perform on our data, like what all uh, operations we can perform on our data. That's the difference for in the structure programming and programming. What is the use? Because the data we can maintain our data secure, like data protection we can achieve by using this object oriented design. Here the data is global, like anyone can access the data in structured programming. Okay, so in these are the two concepts which we look while designing the objects. Behavior is like what methods can we operate on objects, like what methods do we need to operate on object. That is the behavior of the object. And statements, what is the, so what is the information stored in our instance variable, that is determines the state of an object. So if we invoke the particular method on an object, then how the state of object is changing, that means how the data of the instance variables are changing, that denotes the state of our object. So what is this encapsulation? Should not change unless a method operates on it. So we should not change the state of an object unless unless a method is called on that particular object. Okay. these are this is nothing but other concept, that is the relationship between the classes. These are the three kinds of relationships that can exist between the classes. One is dependence, the other one is aggregation, and the other one is the inheritance. Dependence is like let us take in the lecture it is given an example of order system. Inside an order system there will be different classes, no? One is to take order, another is for payments, like another, like it requires some accounts information, payments, let's take it as account class. And another is for like address, shipping address that it should take, no? There are many classes inside this order system, but when you see this order class, that depends on the accounts. In order to check whether the order is placed, whether we have credited or that's thing, in order to check the credit status, the order class depends on this account class. So that is dependence. Items does not depend on order. So if we, let us take example, item class just takes the whatever the items that we need to purchase. It doesn't have any dependence relation with this account class. And aggregation is means order contains items. So in a specific order there will be array of items, no, or list of some items, no. So actually items are present in this order class, but here the order class does not have this account object, but it will check it should check the status of this account object, whether the account like whether it is creditor or not. But here the item should be there as object, like inside the class order there will be some items I object. So that means order contains items object here. Okay, inheritance is means one object is specialized version of other. That means express order inherits from order. So order will have some methods and everything. So express order inherits all the methods from order, and it also will have more methods. Actually express order is a order, so it has is a relation, and like, but it is more specialized version of the other. So express order is more specialized version of order. Okay, so now coming in the lecture 2, this is from week 3, it discuss about subclasses and inheritance. So an example of employee class is taken, and then example of employee and manager classes are taken here. So class employee has name and salary as its instance variables, and some constructors in order to initialize the instance variables. Mutator methods, like mutator methods are basically in order to change the values of instance variables, changes the values of updates, and accessor methods in order to access the values of instance variables. And it also has the other methods like bonus. This is the other method, this is not accessor or mutator method, it is some other method. So these are all the components of our class employee. And class manager extends employee. That means manager is child class of or is subclass of employee. Employee is parent class or super class,
Sorry,
and
return type is boolean in the mutator method. How it is
that,
boolean?
oh, it is wrong actually. It should be void here. Why? Mutator methods won't return anything basically. It just sets the values. So it will set name. Here it can be name equal to s. It will set the value and it won't return anything. Mutator methods function. Yeah. So after
What?
setting the value,
What?
yeah, after
What?
setting the value, you can maintain some boolean variable here, and you can, so if you wanted to do this, you can do this also. You can maintain some boolean variable, boolean set name, or some variable.
In lecture also it is boolean. It is lecture also it is boolean.
Yeah, let's say it's boolean.
Hmm.
So yeah, you can use some instance variable set name or something that denotes whether name is set or not. Yeah, you can do this, but generally we won't do this. You can make it as void simply. just just assign the values, just update the values of your instance variable and make it as like it won't return anything. That also can be done. Yeah. So that's why explicit definition is not defined here, but you can return also that thing. Okay. So manager extends employee, that means manager is subclass of employee class. So manager will have all the things which are defined in the employee class. Like it will have the set name method, set salary method, get name, get salary, bonus method also. And in addition to this, manager has secretary, set secretary, and get secretary. These methods also. These are nothing but accessor and mutator methods for the secretary. So you can see here a subclass extends parent class. That means it is uh, it is the child class of parent class. It will have all the methods which are defined in the parent, inherits all the
Can
methods.
can can we extend? Can a class extend two classes?
That means you are saying A extends
Extends B and C, B
B and
comma C.
C. That is not possible. Multiple inherit. A class cannot inherit from multiple classes in Java. There is, yeah, why? Because there is one diamond problem. That means, okay, if a method which is defined in both B and let's take it some
That
method
that that
bonus.
that, that I know. That I know. But a question was there where extension was there.
No,
I will
this,
tell you.
yeah, but it's not
Question was
possible. Okay.
there. Okay, wait. I will cite you after that.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Subclass inherits instance variables and method from the parent class. Subclass can add more instance variables and methods. Here we can see secretary is new instance variable, and it can also override the methods. That means we can redefine the methods which are there inside the parent class. That means we can give new definition to this bonus method as well in the child class. So in order to access the parent class methods, you can use the like directly super dot bonus. You can use this super keyword. And yeah, we can, subclasses basically cannot see the private components of a parent class. We cannot see inside the subclass this name and salary are not accessible because they are private, but we need to set the values of this instance variables, no? So how to set the values of instance variables? By using the constructor. So inside the this subclass constructor, we can call the superclass constructor by using this by using the keyword super. So okay, but here it's not there. Yeah, you can call the superclass constructor from the subclass by using the super keyword. So that means there can be 3 argument constructor in your manager class. One is to set the name of employee and set the salary of employee. Another one is to set the name of the secretary of the man in the manager class. So that there can be 3 argument constructor here that takes string, double, and string. So you can say super of this whatever 2 arguments for name, some name and salary. That arguments you can pass, and later you can set the secretary name also. Set secretary equal to some whatever the value it is taking, you can set. Okay, is it clear this is whatever I have mentioned here or not? If it is not clear, I can show it. Okay, I hope it is clear.
One down.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, please.
It will not inherit any function, any method of employee class in manager, then it will give an error.
Yeah, all public methods are inherited from employee to manager, no? That's what it is mentioned.
If it is not,
Subclass,
give error.
yeah, but all public methods will be inherited. If it is private method, we cannot see that method. That's all. Like in the manager class, that private method is not accessible. Okay. So yeah, manager
I
objects.
have one question in this inheritance method.
Mhm.
So you have a constructor in the base class or the parent class, which has
Okay.
two private instances.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the child class, you have another one, like in this get secretary. Suppose there's another instance variable added.
Mm.
Now in the constructor, suppose I only make a constructor which only calls this secretary or defines this secretary.
Okay.
The other two I'm not giving.
Mm.
So the other two will automatically be inherited from the base class, or I need to specifically put a super.
Yeah, these will be inherited. All these, the what this name and salary are inherited, but the thing is, they are not visible in this manager class. But before using them, we need to set it to some values. No.
Yeah, so in the manager class, I'll take them through the super
Yeah,
method.
you can call the super class constructor by using the keyword super.
Super. But if
Yeah.
I don't use it,
Mm.
then what happens? Then does Java by default take a super with no argument constructor and will refer to the parent class to check if there is a.
If no constructor is mentioned in this manager class, then it will provide default constructor, and in the default constructor the first line will be super keyword. But yeah, but if you are mentioning any constructor to this manager class, if you are not invoking the super keyword explicitly, then yeah, it won't be.
So if I'm invoking a constructor in the manager class, but only with one instance variable, which is secretary, not name and salary, then the first line, will it invoke the super of the parent class?
Yeah. Yes. Okay, let me
Okay.
check. Yeah. Yeah,
No,
you can yeah.
think not invoke. If
Sorry.
have specifically specify a constructor with only one argument, then it will not automatically or by default it will not make the super of that.
Okay, I will show that. I think then it will be more clear. I will
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, ma'am. Yeah,
yeah,
go to
just
the
a
replic.
minute.
It
Yeah,
will be clear. I
yeah,
have
just
also
a
some.
minute. Yeah. I will get that code. Just a minute. Okay.
In this slide also, ma'am, set secretary is having a Boolean return type.
Yeah, that is not a issue. Okay, that is like you can just define your method as you wish. Like you can make it as void also. That won't be a problem.
Okay. That is typo or that is a method? It is.
Yeah, that is a method. That is a method
Okay.
uh, that may not be a typo actually. You can
Okay.
return boolean also to your.
That's why I wanted to know, okay, how it is.
You can return some boolean. Okay, I will. Just I'm getting the code. Okay.
Are you loading now, ma'am? Screen share.
Yeah, I'm just getting this.
Yeah, you do that. By the time, like when you should have a boolean return for a set method, right? Mutator, right? That's the question. Is it the thing we are discussing?
Uh,
Why it is boolean for the mutator?
yeah, yes, sir. Actually,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
are.
Yeah, yeah. See, whenever like mutators are basically changing or setting a value, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Now there is something called as a input validation, right? Input validation means you're expecting an email address, right? You call the set
Mm-hmm.
email address and you're passing a string, and that has to be set to the email address instance variable. But suppose you keep a checking inside the function that it's a valid email address or not, right? So if you find it's
Yeah.
not a valid, you don't assign it, rather you returns a false. That indicates whatever the value you have passed into the mutator, the set mutator, it's basically a invalid as far as the format. So it's not able to pass the validation criteria, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
if the
It is for that.
validation is passed, then it will be assigned. So mostly it is taken as a boolean whenever you have to do some kind of validation on the input data. Otherwise, let it be valid void.
Okay, okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's why I was confusing with that key. Why it is Boolean?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Okay, the doubt is this one, no? Public string some s. Okay, now
Now if I create, this is the
see, even this implicit superconstructor employee is undefined, must explicitly invoke another constructor.
yeah. So it okay. So you have
Okay,
to put super.
okay. If the thing is, it is not telling you have to put super, but it is telling you can see that this zero argument constructor is not there for employee. So let me check. Yeah, this means it has some zero. What should I do? Okay. Okay, now let me create object of manager.
Ma'am, can you use employee as the reference and create an object of
Yes,
manager?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Employee given equal to new manager of. Okay, I will call an argument constructor some. Okay, an argument constructor I am calling. Okay, see. You can see it got executed. I have called the one argument constructor of the manager class. Okay, I will print the values also of name and salary. You can see they will be default values. They will be assigned to some default values. Even dot, but they are private. I cannot access, but I will make now as public or default. Just making it as public default. Yeah. Yeah, you can see I have created object E1 you by what calling the one argument constructor of the manager class. So inside the one argument constructor, I have not mentioned anything super or something, but the first line of your constructor will be of
So that
super
is
of.
implicit. It
That
is
is
implicit.
implicit. Yes, implicit.
By
Why
default,
it has, yeah, why it has worked? Because we have zero argument constructor here. If our class does not provide any zero argument constructor, then it will give error here.
error, right?
Yeah.
Clear.
Ma'am, I had a small doubt in that default constructor. If
Yeah.
I have two methods with maybe print and something else without any parameter, and I just call this, how will it know which method to call?
You are telling about constructor, right? This constructor. Okay. If I say, okay, if I here say system dot out dot println of some hello or something. Yeah. So whenever, yeah, if I say here this of, then the zero argument constructor will be called. So what we are doing in the zero argument constructor, we're just printing the hello, right?
Okay, yes, sir.
So actually constructor call must be first statement in a constructor.
That is there.
So you should write here. So here you can create employee, same employee object. But here the thing is you need to pass two arguments because I'm calling two argument constructor, Rahul and age 23 or something. Yeah, this must be different object E2. Yeah, if I do this, employee E2 name will be Rahul and age will be 23 and hello also will be printed. Hello also will be printed. Yeah, because yeah,
Null is being printed.
not null. This is because that one. See, hello is getting printed twice. Why? Because this one. The reason is because this one. Yeah, it will be printed only once. If we say employee E2 equal to, if we have created an employee object using by calling the two argument constructor, then inside the two argument constructor, what is the first line? That is hello, no?
Hello.
So
Hello.
that means this off. That means zero argument constructor will be invoked. So what we are doing in the zero argument constructor, it just prints the hello, and then the whatever the values of name and salary, that will be set to these values. Okay, I have not understood your doubt clearly. Is that what you mean?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I confused with the constructor and the method. That's what.
Okay, yeah.
Ma'am, if you remove this, then I
Mhm.
think it will still print hello from that.
Yeah, first line of any constructor will be this or super. Okay,
No, it is
if
not printed.
It is not. Okay. So you have to specify it.
if we wanted to call another constructor, then we have to use this keyword.
Okay.
Clear now.
Ma'am,
Clear now.
go to the employee class. Go to the employee class. Employee class. What method is there? Employee class. Here, employee class is having no argument. Right?
Yeah,
Na? Method. Hello. But why it is not taking? It should take, na?
yeah, it's up to your
Okay.
wish. No, you can have any number of constructors, zero argument constructor or two argument constructor, right?
Okay. We are calling two argument constructor, but we are
Mhm.
not specifying to print this zero argument, so it is not printing. If you specify this
Yeah,
off, then it will print, right?
then only it is printing. Okay.
No, in the instance you created an employee, had we put two arguments or one?
It is two
If
argument. In
you
the
just
two
go down.
argument. Yeah,
Okay.
it's two
Okay.
argument. Yeah.
It's still not printing. So that means you have to explicitly.
Explicitly write that's this keyword. Yeah.
We have the option whether we are choosing two argument or no argument, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Ma'am, I have one more doubt. In the copy constructor, if it is a variable like as you mentioned date, we can take and give like this dot day, this dot, and it will create a new object when you give a new in the format of new, and we will get the values updated separately for object 1 and 2. But if it is a
Yes.
string, if you're passing a string, like say if I have a name like Rahul, and if I'm passing a string in the first object, even if I give this dot string is equal to string, it doesn't change the name in the second object.
Yes. Because actually strings are immutable, no? Whenever string value is changed, new object will be created. So there won't be problem with strings.
Ma'am, how can we change the value if we want to change, like we had a problem of projects, right? The first project and second project.
That problem is because string array, that is array is an object. That's why even if you change the first object, the second object is also getting changed. Yeah, that is already discussed in the
It's discussed, but I still have doubt on that. So, yes. It's okay.
Okay, you can specify your doubt.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, you can mention your doubt. Yeah, if it is not clear.
Yeah. My doubt is that if a string is to be changed, if I give a name like if I give two names in the first first object, and if I want to change the name in the second one, like if I give a number, it can be easily changed, but the
Yeah, for
name
strings
doesn't.
also it won't be a problem. For strings also it won't be a problem because strings are immutable. Even if you change in the first or second, the other object won't be changed. Like it will be like integers or whatever floats, whatever the primitives types you change, it will be similar type, similar to that only on strings. If you do on strings,
Is there a
because
way to
strings.
change, like if we want to change, if we have first name as Rahul and we want to change it to Ram, how can we change that? Like in object one, it is Rahul, and we have a number like 5, and in second one, I want to change it to Ram and maybe a number called 10.
Then
So
you
when
can use this mutator methods in order to change them. So yeah, you can say that object dot mutator method like e1 dot set name or e2 dot set name you can say, and you can change the value later.
okay, after giving this string is equal to string, I have to use a mutator to get the value.
E- So okay, if you have this employee e1 equal to new employee of e2,
Yes.
new employee of, okay, I will say basically we will say this in another way, no, e1 e2, this will be confusing if I use difference. Yeah, e1, that means I have created e. Okay, now e1 name is Rahul and age is 23. We are getting this error because there is no this constructor, copy constructor.
Okay.
Age is 23, and for e2 also name is Rahul and age will be 23. If we
Yes.
wanted to change e2's name or e1 name, you wanted to change,
I want to change E2's name.
okay, e2 dot set name, you can call the mutator method set name to some name Ram, you can say. That
Okay.
will change the name of your e2 to some other name. So e1 name will be still Rahul, but e2 name will be Ram. Both age will be 23.
Okay. 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 Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
I got it
Yeah.
now.
One thing, ma'am, one question here in the weblet. In the main method, we exclude the main method exclude out of this class. Suppose this main method we put in the self class where we were defining this constructors or like that, then it will work. Class main, delete the line 39,
Okay, 39, what you are telling?
delete it, hide it.
Okay, but
I want to
in,
keep I want to keep this main method inside the class.
yeah, in other editors it is possible, but in Replit it is not possible because the name of the file is main.java, no? So yeah, this is the public class.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. That's why, because I was confusing why it is not working. They are questioning the questions it is given that it is
Mm.
okay, okay, okay. In the
In
Replit it
other,
is
yeah, in Replit it won't be possible, but in other editors it will be possible. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It can be there, right? For
Yes.
permissible. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it, got it. Thank you,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So this super use super to access the constructor of parent class. This is clear, no? Yeah. Manager object inherits the other fields and methods from employee, so it will inherits the fields and methods from employee. Every manager has name and salary and methods to access and manipulate this. The manager will have set name, set salary, get name, get salary methods as well. They're public only. Yeah, manager can redefine the bonus method. Here the bonus method is defined for employee. We can redefine the bonus method in manager, that is called overriding. So double bonus, it should be public double bonus float percentage here, and here 1.5 into super dot bonus of percentage. That means here super dot bonus means it will call the bonus method of the employee class, and then uh, super dot bonus actually calls the bonus method of the employee class, and basically we are redefining the bonus method in the manager class. So use parent class bonus via super. So we were calling the parent class bonus method by using the super keyword, overrides the definition in the parent class. Actually we are overriding the definition of the parent class in the manager class. So you already have seen this kind of notation, no? A parent class reference can hold a child class object. Employee equal to new manager. E is static type of E is manager, but it is storing the it is the static type of E is employee, but it is storing the manager object. So can we invoke E dot set secretary? It is not possible, no, because for for employee set secretary method is not there. Statically this won't be possible. Static type checking is employee, so that set secretary method is not present in the employee class, so it is not possible to call the set secretary method. So how can we overcome this problem? Can we overcome this problem? Yes, we can overcome this problem. Yeah,
Typecasting.
by doing the typecasting. Okay, but let us see what are the things. Okay, if we say uh, E dot bonus of P. So actually E is manager object. If we say E dot bonus of P, then which method is invoked? Whether it's employee bonus method or manager bonus method. That also uh, it's not clear, right? That also not clear. So the dynamic binding or late binding. Okay, by using this dynamic dispatch, so whatever the object, actually E is like employee, static type is employee, but the dynamic type is like it is like manager object, no? So actually the bonus method of manager will be invoked. This is called dynamic dispatch. Based on the object, based on the type of object, actual real object, the particular method will be invoked. Okay,
This
so
is at the runtime.
this is happens at the runtime. So statically what it will do is it will check whether employee has bonus method or not, this bonus of P, some argument it is taking, or whether it has bonus method or not, it will check. Yes, employee method has bonus method, employee class has bonus method, so this kind of what calling is invoking is valid. But while during runtime it will check like which bonus method to invoke, whether it's manager or employee, because both are defined, no? But actually it will see the object, the object which we have created is manager object, and that particular object's method will be invoked, so manager's bonus method will be invoked. Okay.
So at the time of compiling, it will
Hmm.
store a static type.
At the time of compiling, nothing will be stored. It will check whether we can call the bonus method on this E object, this employee object or not. But at
Now you have
runtime
used
it
the
is
static and dynamic both. Static and dynamic both. Then when this static will be used?
so static basically checks, but dynamic it decides to call which method. Basically checks whether this type of invocation is valid or not. Statically, whether this type of invocation is valid. Yeah.
It is just verifying that whether it has been inherited or not, right? If it is inherited, then it will be used.
Not inherited, it will check whether E has this bonus method or not. So if we call something, some method on object, so if I say E dot
In which case it will fail.
okay, if I say E dot set secretary, it will fail. Static type check, statically it will
Oh,
give compiler error,
okay,
because
okay.
E does not.
Method will be not applied. Got it. Method
Yeah.
will be not applied. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, is it clear for everyone? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, please.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all there. But in order to overcome this problem, typecasting is there, that is present in the next slide. Okay, you can see this polymorphism. Polymorphism means same name but many forms, like same okay, there can be we can achieve polymorphism in Java by two ways. One is method overloading and one is method overriding. So method overloading means we have already seen constructor overloading, no? Constructor will have same names but different signature. Same method will have same name but different signature. What does mean signature of a function? Means its name and list of arguments it takes. So yeah, multiple methods with the same name but different signature, it is called overloading. uh, okay, we can define the same method with different number of arguments. So based on the number of arguments, based on the order of arguments, or based on the type of arguments which we pass, the it will decide to call the statically it will decide to call which method. Okay, So overriding means same method which is defined in both parent class and child class, everything is same, signature is also same, but but we are giving new definition in the child class. Okay, bonus method which we have seen previously, employee class also has a bonus method. The signature of the bonus method is same in both employee and manager class, but the definition of the bonus method is different in employee and manager class. So that means in the child class we are overriding the parent class bonus method. Okay, multiple methods. See, here we have the multiple methods, that means bonus method that has the same signature and everything. Okay, based on this dynamic dispatch, which method is being invoked is decided at runtime only. Like if the method is overridden based on this concept of dynamic dispatch, the method to call which the invoked method is decided at runtime. Okay. So in order to overcome this problem, e dot secretary set secretary is valid. Like it should be, we should be able to call set secretary method on manager object, but if we use the parent class reference, we are unable to call the set secretary method because static type checking disallows this. In order to overcome this, we need to typecast it. So e should be made as manager, like its type should be made as manager, and then we can invoke the set secretary method on this manager object. Okay, sometimes this type of cast fails. If this e is of not of type manager, this cast will fail. In order to avoid this, we can test this before doing this kind of typecasting. So we can say we can check whether e is instance of manager. If it is instance of manager, then we can typecast it e to manager, and then we can call secretary method on that object. Okay, is it clear? Like we can invoke the set secretary method on e by doing the typecasting to
Here,
manager.
ma'am, if we are checking that E is instance of manager, then why we are typecasting again? We have checked it. If it is yes, then it will be executed. Then why we are typecasting again?
See, e dot set secretary means actually what is what is a static type of e? It is like employee, no?
Okay, okay.
So yeah,
got
set
it.
secretary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
previously you cleared it. I got it.
yeah,
Because it is not of that type. Thank you.
yeah. So basically,
I
Java.
have one question in typecasting.
Mm.
So there is a method in employee and I don't have it in manager. Can I do the reverse, or it's illegal to do that? It's only
Sorry, I didn't get. If there is method in employee and it's not there in manager,
manager
manager
and
will inherit all the methods of employee, no?
right,
Everything is inclusive in that, right?
right, okay.
See, using, if the method is private, even using the employee object also, you cannot access that method because that method can be accessible only within the employee class, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you can't typecast. Suppose you create an instance of manager, manager M new manager. Can I typecast to employee to get that method?
No, you cannot. See, even the employee object cannot access the private methods. Only within the employee class, only within this class, we can access the method. So if this method is private, let us say, okay, this method is private, then you cannot say even dot get name. Even dot get name you cannot access. You even using the object, you cannot access a method.
Reference is not correct.
Even dot get name, this get name is actually get name method is not visible. It's private, no? Get name method.
Right.
So get name method you cannot access. Get name has private access in employee. Even using the object of employee, you cannot access the method. Where you can access is, you can access here, like inside the class, inside the employee class, you can access. Like if you have some other method, some get any method,
Now,
like
if it is
set.
private, I get it. My question was, You have a method in employee and we create an instance of manager with the type manager.
Okay, manager cannot hold employee object.
No. I create with manager only.
Okay, manager
But
M1 equal to new manager of.
new manager. But I want to
Yeah.
get a method which is in employee. Can I
You
do
can
a?
get, yes, you can get, because all
Possible.
methods of
I can
employee are
typecast the parent also. Like you typecast the.
typecasting. No, typecasting won't work.
Okay, so okay,
You
Not
are saying,
required at all.
yeah,
okay. It's not required. Yeah.
not required
Not
actually.
required.
Yeah,
Mm.
because
Not required.
manager will have all the methods of employee. You can access them directly. No typecasting
Directly.
is required.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Java does not allow multiple inheritance. That means a class cannot extend from two classes. Like A extends B comma C. That is not possible. A subclass can extend only one parent class. The Java class hierarchy forms a tree that was already discussed. No, the root of the hierarchy is superclass of every other class, and it has two default like it has many methods, but the some of the methods are like equals and toString. So every object like employee, manager, student, whatever the class which we object which we create, they also will have this equal and toString method. These all the methods which are present in the object class. Okay, what is the function of equals method? Whenever we say student is employee E1, if you wanted to check two employees, E1 equal to E2, then equals method of this uh, the object class will be invoked. If no, okay, if I say if I wanted to check whether two employees are same or not, then I will say E1 equal to E2. You can check this, no? You can use this condition if something, if you can write this and you can check. But equal to this double equal to operator will invokes the equals method. So equals method is actually not defined in the employee class, but it is defined in the object class. So object class equals method will be invoked. What object class equal method will do is it will check whether whether this objects E1 and E2 are referring to the same memory location. Okay, if they are referring to the same memory location, it will return true. But if they are not referring to the same memory location, it will return false. So, but you wanted to check the two employees based on some names or some salary or something, names or salary, then you need to override the equals method. So that thing you have to do. ToString also, whenever when we try to print an object, if I say system.out.println of E1, then the memory address of that E1 object will be printed. But in order to avoid that, when we print some object, if I say system.out.println of E1, then if I wanted to print the name of employee, then I need to override the ToString method to print the name of employee. Okay, that thing overriding thing you have to do. Is it clear for everyone?
Yes.
This equals method also you have to override in order to do some particular custom type of checking. Like if you wanted to check the two employees based on some ID or something, then equals method has to be overridden. Okay, the thing is, please note down, take care of the arguments here. So you have to pass some object here to equals method. It does not take employee or E or something. It will take object O. So you have to pass object O, and then that only, if you pass some employee, that won't be overriding, it will be overloading only. It will be overloading only because it is taking some different argument. If it is object O, then only that means it is we are overriding the equals method of this object class. Yeah.
But there's one question, ma'am.
Yeah.
So this object class is the root. It's the top class.
Yes.
So that means when we took this example of employee and manager, so it is implicit in Java that employee extends object.
Yes, employee has all the features of yeah.
Object. Okay.
Okay. Equals and toString is over.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
In the equals overriding,
Mm.
always we need to use object only as the parameter.
Yeah, object as if you wanted to override the equals method of object class, then you have to use object only. But you can define equals method by using employee. That is not called as overriding of equals method of object class. It is like we are defining new equals method, not new overloaded. The method
Overloading.
equals, the method equals is overloaded actually. That means we are passing different argument, no, different type of argument. We are
Okay.
not overriding. Okay.
Okay.
So
Is there any difference between the implementation also? Like while overloading and overriding,
mm,
the implementation is different. Do we need to do any extra checking or something like that?
overriding, but basically we will override the methods in child class, means we will give new definition to our method which is already present in the parent class. We will give some new definition to the method. So in overloading also we can give the new definition to the existing method. So basically this overloading and overriding concepts are used in order to what, check. If I say e1 dot equals of e2, that means it will check whether we can call this method or not. Basically it is like used to identify whether we can call the methods or not, but implementation you can change in the methods. Okay, in overloaded methods you can change implementation, in overridden ridden methods also you can change the implementation.
Okay, because I have seen in one of the code that it is checking the instance of the object which is passed in, and the um, object passed is employee, like that. It
Mhm.
is the parameter is passed.
Yeah, why we are doing that, why we are doing that, because
Mhm.
I wanted to I wanted to override the equals method of uh, this object class in the employee class. That means it should have the same signature, public boolean equals of object o, that same signature. And we need to override the equals method such that we have to tell to employee same if their names are same. So how to do this? Okay, the actually we will say e1 dot equals of e2. Actually we are passing object e2. If I say here this dot name equal to uh, not, as it is string, we should use dot equals method. This dot name of equals of e dot name, whatever o dot name dot, sorry, I have written equals of e dot name. If I say o dot name, if I say, actually object o does not have this name as its instance variable, so it won't, the statically the type checking will happen. So name is not the instance variable of this object o, so it will give compiler error. So what you will do is you will check whether this object, what we are object here we are passing employee, no, whether it is of type employee or not, we will check. Okay, if o is instance of employee, if o is instance of employee, then we will typecast o to employee, and then we will check, then we will do this kind of checking.
Okay.
Okay, why that kind of is instance of is checked? Because o doesn't have this name or anything. O dot name we cannot use directly, we have to typecast it to employee, and then only we have to use this that typecasted object. That will work because the typecasted object is of type employee. For that employee there is name as its variable, so we can access that. But object o doesn't have that, so it will give error.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, class hierarchy provides both subtyping and inheritance. Why subtype? Like you can say employee equal to new manager. That means, okay, uh, if a is subtype of b, whenever object of a is like, whenever the object of a is required, we can use object of b. That's the same thing here. Employee equal to new manager. New manager object which is subtype. So whenever object of uh, what whenever object of this a is needed, we can use the object of b. This is legal. That is called subtyping we are achieving by using the inheritance concept. So because manager has all the methods which are present in the employee, so we can invoke all the methods using this manager object also. Okay, inheritance means reuse of implementation, no? So actually, all, so manager dot bonus uses employee dot bonus. You can see in the manager bonus method we have called super dot bonus, right? Super dot bonus. And we can see also see that the methods of the manager are written uh, in terms of the methods of employee. So if B inherits A, the sum of the method, if some of the functions for B are written in functions of A, in terms of functions of A. So here that means manager dot bonus uses employee dot bonus. Some of the methods are written in terms of like employees class. Actually, we are reusing the implementations. Okay, by using this inheritance concept, this class hierarchy concept, both the subtyping and inheritance is achieved. Yeah. Okay, is it clear for everyone? Okay, I hope it's clear. Then Java
Yes,
modifier.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, coming to the Java modifiers, public and private are
So, see
like,
here in ma'am, inheritance and subtyping. One, can you give an example where it is an inheritance but not a subtyping? The
it is
difference to understand,
inheritance. It
but
is
not subtyping.
yeah, you can take the example of the first lecture, which is stack, queue, and deck. That you can take. Just that. Can
Okay,
you
okay,
just,
okay.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, I
stack,
got it,
queue.
got it, got
Yeah,
it, got it,
that
got it.
is, yeah.
Yes,
So deck
yes,
inherits that thing. You can check. Yeah,
got it, got it.
yeah. So yeah, public and private. By using public and private, we can achieve the encapsulation that we have covered. And modifier static. So static means we can access that without creating the object, just that instance variable, that not instance variable, it is class variable. So we can access that variable by using class name. We can, if the method is static, we can access that method only by using the class name. And final means that that variable or that method cannot be changed. The final methods cannot be overridden. Similarly, the values of the final variables cannot be changed. Yeah, we will use a private static also, like we can make
What is the
them
meaning of this orthogonal? What is the meaning of orthogonal
independent,
to?
are independent.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Independent of the public and private.
are independent to public and private. We can have public
Okay,
static variables, private static variables, final, okay, public final, that
okay,
variables
okay,
also.
okay, 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 okay.
Yeah,
Public static final or public static or public private static final. This is called orthogonal, right?
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Use private static we can use private static instance variable to maintain bookkeeping. Okay, you can see the example which is given in week 3 slides only. There actually sir has used one instance variable in order to keep the record of orders. So whenever new order is placed, if we make the static, the variable order count as static, then only within the class we can update, right? Only in the within the class we can update. In the constructor it is getting updated, but for all other objects also the variable is getting updated. Like for all the other objects also, whenever the new order is placed, for every order the variable keep is getting updated. You can see that for more clear understanding, we can use the private static variables in order to keep some record of the information, bookkeeping information. Yeah, usually final is used to denote some constants. Yeah, I have already discussed. If a class is final, then we cannot inherit that class, and can also have, yeah, we can also have the private classes. Yeah, that also there. Yeah, now, yeah, it's
This
already, yeah.
one question in that final,
Mm,
if you can go. So
yeah.
you have a final method which cannot be overridden by a subclass. It is clear. Final
Mm,
class cannot be inherited. That's
inherited,
also
yes.
clear.
Mm,
But a final instance variable
mm.
that can be changed in the subclass.
Final variable cannot be changed, right? Final variable
Within the
cannot.
within the class you can't change it, but outside the class you can change it.
Change means in the sense you want to change the value or you want to
The
change
value, the
okay.
value, because it's a constant.
No,
Yeah.
you cannot change the value for instance variable
Once
also.
the value is initialized to some value, you cannot update the value.
Even in a subclass?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yes. That's all for week 3. I think week 4 Arup sir will continue.
Yeah. Okay. Share my screen. Okay, I think it's visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me go for this abstract class and interfaces what we have inside the week 4. So the concept of abstract class and inheritance comes whenever we try to group the classes under a single head. What I meant to say, suppose I say these are all the classes which do something related to IO operation, input output operation. So how do I group them? So maybe I can have a common class, right? And I make all the classes to inherit it. So that means this all will be commonly represented by a single class, that is this class which comes in the top. Now, why not a normal class? I can have a normal IO class, and this is the specific, like this is a class to handle with the keyboard, this is the class to handle with mouse, this is for maybe a pen drive or something, sorry, that writing pad or something. Okay, yeah. So I can have a normal IO class also. I can represent everything as a normal IO class. But what is the difficulty? Say, whenever I think about a IO class, I need to take certain input and output functions I need to define. So whenever it's a mouse, I know how to take the input. Whenever I go for some output device, I know how to give the output. If I'm on a touch screen, I know how to give the input as well as output. But whenever I want to generalize it, I say I'll have a IO class. So I do not specific to any device in such. So how do I know the operation? I don't have any definition for those operations, right? To make it common, I should have those operations, but I do not know how to implement that. So that's why the concept of abstract class and interface comes, where you can have the methods, and those methods could be defined without any definitions. Without any definitions, right? So again, I repeat, suppose, for example, suppose you want to represent different kind of geometrical shape. So you can have a rectangle, you can have a square, you can have cube, something and something. But we know they can have area, and some having area and volume, both of the things. Now, how to put everything in a group? Suppose I put a header, I say it's a geometrical shape class, and make everything to inherit it. So I know now the geometrical shape should have this volume and area functions. But until and unless I specifically know which kind of geometrical shape it is, I cannot define the area function as well as the volume function. So I should go for something to define abstract methods, the methods without any body, right? So whenever you want to put an abstract method in the class must be integrated as a abstract class, right? So that's the concept of abstract. So abstract method is a method which do not have any implementation, right? Abstract class is something which should have at least one abstract method, which should have at least one abstract method. So whenever you're having an abstract class, what you are inheriting, you should implement all those abstract methods because they need to be defined inside the child classes. So I rather say abstract method do not have a definition, but the definition must be required by the definition must be required by the.
Or extend.
What you're saying?
Implement this abstract method is implemented or extended.
Method can be extended.
Yeah, he subclass to implement it in a
Can you
sensible
extend
manner.
a method?
No, class.
So method, what do you do?
Here I subclass to implement it in a sensible
No, my
manner.
question is a method can extend a method. That's my question. Your question was, I should say method extend or method implement. My question is, can a method extend? So there is no question of extension. So it should be implemented, right?
Okay.
So I don't have a body in my parent.
Okay.
inside the parent class, my method do not have a body. So who should supply the body? It's the child class who should supply the body, right, of the class. So that means I should supply the implementation of the method, right? And if my parent class already gives a method and child also gives a method, so child wants to override the existing method, so that's a overriding, right? That's a different concept. Here parent is not giving any implementation at all. So child has to implement it, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, got it.
Child has to implement it. Yeah. So I'll say a class is a concrete class where all the behaviors are defined, in the sense all the methods are implemented. So for a concrete class, I can have object because I know the total behavior of the object. So object for a concrete class can be instantiated, whereas for an abstract class, which can have abstract method, as well as interface, which can have abstract method. So for those abstract classes or interfaces, the behaviors are not completely defined because we expect those behavior will be actually implemented by the child classes. So that's why we cannot have instances or the objects of the abstract classes as well as for the interfaces. So let us go by the slides now. This is just the introduction I wanted to give. So any class with abstract method, it's abstract. Cannot create an object of abstract class. I told already, because it do not have the complete implementation. So you do not know the behavior of your object if you want to create it. We can define variables whose type is in abstract classes. So abstract class can have instance variable also. Abstract class also describe the capabilities. This is very important. So when what is the purpose? I should give a prototype but do not provide the definition. A prototype tells about the capability, but our implementation says how to do it. So capability means, can I do something, right? Can I do something? That's the capabilities. But how I can do that, that's basically the implementation. So if you go back to the example what we we discussed before. So E having a method called F, which is overridden here by the M class. So we have discussed this, that this object of E is pointing to object of N, and if I call with the F object obj F, F will be called from the child class, that is basically the M class. Now what obj dot F, I told it has to be checked in the N class. Does it have the capability to call the F function? Means, do I have a capability to have this call, right? So this capabilities will be described by a function declaration or a prototyping. But how to implement that, that will be given by the implementation, right? So whenever I talk about the capability, I may not go for the implementation. So definitely on my parent E, it can be an abstract class, and this could be an abstract. I don't have any problem. So if I have an abstract class, I can always realize it through a child object. Now I want to check what is the capability of obj. I have to check out E. Inside E, I am having F declared as an F. So E having a capability to call F, but it do not have the implementation. So that's why implementation will be provided by the child class. That's all. Okay. So let me check more. Abstract class can also describe the capabilities. These are I already discussed. Interface is an abstract class which do not have any concrete methods, right? All are abstract whenever we think about a abstract interface. So that's why whenever you're implementing an interface, you must be implementing all the methods. Interface is a purely abstract class because all the methods are abstract. Yeah, we can have the static as well as the default implementation, but those are the exceptions. Those are the exceptions. Now, one knowledge, a class to class is a extend, right? A interface to a class is a implements. A interface to an interface is a extends. A class to an interface, it's not possible. Have you got it what I told?
Yes, sir.
A class to a class extend. interface to a class, it's a implement. Interface to interface, it's a extend. Class to a interface cannot happen, because interface is a much more generalized format of a class, right? So which know the behavior should be there, but it's do not know how to implement those things. So it's a generalized format.
You told, sir, interface to interface extends.
Yeah, interface to interface extends. But interface to class is a implement. Class can implement multiple interfaces. So this, you already done this. I'm not going into this. And you know that we can have a static method as well as default these things. One question, like suppose inside I'm implementing a class, right? The class extend a abstract class. The class also implements another interface, right? Inside both, there is a default definition for a function f. Now from my child class, if I call f, do I get it from the abstract class or do I get it from the interface?
From abstract class.
From the abstract class, yeah. And if I implement two interfaces and both having the same function as an abstract and give a default definition, but default definitions are different, then what will happen? Which one I should get?
The one which is specified first
No, sir.
while implementing.
It is ambiguous, so I should have an explicit definition in the child. I should have an explicit definition in the child.
Yes. No, only if the signature of the default is same. But if it is
different, that is what I'm saying. It's the same. Yeah, that otherwise there is not a problem, right?
Right.
Yes.
So between abstract class and interface, it will choose the prioritize the abstract class, but interface, it's a conflict. So you should have a implementation inside the child. That's all. Okay. Okay. Remember, a class, if it is not a nested class or an internal class, cannot be private. A private class is possible if it is an inner class. A private class is possible if it is an inner class. Now, for example, I can, so this is an example of linked list as well as nodes. So node is defined as an inner. Even I can implement it as a class, linked list, and I can have a separate class, not as a nested class or inner class, node. And still I can have this private node. Sorry, this is capital node first, right? This is also possible. I can have two separate classes, node and linked list, as well as I can have linked list as outer class and node as a inner class. Both implementation are possible, but what is the difference? You got my question, right?
No, sir. Can you just repeat? Can you repeat?
Rather than making the node as an inner class, I can create the class node outside also, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It will have the same effect for this code.
Yeah, but you want certain information as private. Certain methods which should not be accessed by the public.
Yeah, that's the thing is, so if I create, so outer class are always public. You cannot make them as an, sorry, it's not always public. It could be default or public, right? But it's definitely not a private. Definitely not a private. So this node
for hiding from the user. Implementation
not
of the
exactly node. Hiding for the user. Hiding for a user is a different kind of term. User is a different entity, right? I mean to say different thing. So if I make it as an outer class, these class can be instantiated by any other class. That's the point is. But if I make it as an inner private class, then only this class can instantiate node.
Okay.
No outer class, other class can instantiate this. Right. So object of node is possible if it is outer class by anybody.
Exclusive use of.
If I create it as a private inner class, then only this outer class, that is linked list, can use this. this instance, right? That's the understanding. So this is definitely for the security reason. Yeah, that's absolutely correct answer.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me check out what is the deal with it. So here I meant to say that I'm having some kind of security required for this, so that's why I'm making it as a private nested, private internal. Okay, let me just maximize. I just want to illustrate the coding part. So this is our example we have in the slide, what Sarah has prepared. So I'm having a railway booking class. Now I want to query, right? Suppose I want to query about reservation or something. Now, if I want to query something, I have to validate, right? I have to be a correct user. Then only they will provide me a this query object of the query object, rather I should say. So this object could be only achieved if I do a valid login. Now, if I just make this query object class as an outer class, anybody can instantiate this, right? But when I make it as a inner class and it's a private class, nobody else other than this railway booking class can create an object of this. So soon what will happen? As an outside class or a user, what you're saying, I cannot instantiate an object of it. But the thing is, if I want to access the information, I have to have an object, because without this, no query could be done. So that is the beauty of the private class. So whenever it checks if you are a valid user or not, then it do what? It basically create an instance internally and return this object to you. Now, once you got the object of this query object, now you can make your query freely. But until and unless you do a valid login, you cannot instantiate this particular query object. Got it, right?
But this is still within the class. I mean, it's not outside. If for a user.
Yeah, this is suppose my user class. I have a class user.
Yeah.
So here I want to make certain query by the query objects also. So I want to have a obj. This obj should be an object of this query object. So how I can instantiate this obj? Can I do new query object? No.
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 So that could be done. I need to create an object of railway booking. So I can have a new this railway booking.
Booking of.
Booking. So it creates an object. It creates an object dot. I have to do a login, right?
Login.
I'll say
Valid login.
no. It's login. This is visible to me. Valid login is not visible to me. This is public interface.
Login.
It's a login. So if I do a login, I basically get an object. So this refer to now this object, right?
Object, right. Now, from there, I can do the get status, right?
Yeah, now this refers to this object actually.
Object, right.
So now for using this, I can call other methods, which are belongs to this query.
Which is, so basically, I need to get this get status. And since it's a private class, I am not able to get it directly because it's a private. This get status is a method under the
normal
private class.
I'll tell you in a different way. If I want to access this get status, I need an object of query object. That's the first thing.
Right.
But can I create a object of query object from outside? No, it's not possible.
No, I can't.
It could be only realized through a object of railway booking. So I create an object of railway booking. Then I call the login. Login returns me an instance of a reference to an instance to this. So using that instance, a reference, I will be able to call this get status.
What is the use of the interface out here?
I'm coming to that. That's a very, very important. Now the question is, whenever you are on the user class, what is the type of obj?
The public only.
Type, data type.
Like, okay.
It is
QIF.
the interface.
Interface.
No, no,
What is
no.
the type of obj?
QIF.
Yeah,
Object QIF.
object QIF.
No, what we are asking, sir? Object,
My
OBJ
question
type.
is, what is the data type of this obj?
Okay, you'll have to
Oh,
use an interface only. QIF.
user type.
Now, definitely the data type is this query object type because it is an object of query object, right? But as an outsider, do you know there is something called query object? Are you aware of the fact there is something called as a query object?
No, 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 no.
Because it is hidden within the RLO cooking. So whenever you are outside class, you don't have the knowledge there is something as a query object, right?
Then OBJ is a user type of
Right.
user class.
No. How it is a user class? What you are telling. So as an outsider, you do not know the existence of the query object, right?
Right.
So what will be the now object type? So that's the confusion, right? Now I have to expose somehow what is the, you have to tell somehow your user what is the type of obj, right? So that we do using a interface. Now whenever we create an interface and makes it to be implemented by this query object, now this QIF is a visible thing, right? So why not make it as a QIF?
QIF.
Right? Why not make it as a QIF? Because object of QIF is nothing but the object, sorry, object of query object is nothing but an object of QIF also, right? It's a subtyping concept.
Mm-hmm.
Object of query object is also an object of QIF. And you know there is something as a QIF because it's a public interface.
I'm using QIF as a reference only to get to my query
Reference
object.
type of the reference, yeah.
Type of reference to get to my query because I can't
Yeah,
create
it's the
an
same
object.
concept. The parent type can points to a child object, right?
Yeah.
If this is a QIF, which I can do, I can definitely point to something which is of query object type.
And I can't create an object of QIF, so I can use it as a reference.
As a reference, I can use.
Yeah, right.
My question is now, do this abstract method is necessary? Or what if I don't give it here?
No, you have to, because otherwise this query object implements QIF.
Yeah, I am ultimately going to call this obj dot get status, right?
Yes, gets. So you have to have a get status.
Now, as we have discussed, the compiler first check does this obj having this capability to call the get status, and that depends on the static type of obj. So what is the static type of obj? It's the QIF. So if the QIF doesn't have this, it will raise a compiler error. Now QIF, if you give this, now QIF have this capability, right? So compiler say, okay, you got this capability, but at the runtime from where it will call, the runtime will find the obj actually referring to a query object. So call it from the query object.
So even here you will have to give it in this query object, get status has to be defined.
Yeah, that
is you are implementing.
It's an interface and this is an abstract method. So there is no question you won't be taking,
right.
But the point is this, instead of interface, you can also have it as an abstract. That does not matter. That is also possible, right?
Right.
Both will work, right?
Both will work.
Nice.
Now we'll go for
actually the interface is the real interface between the private access and the user access.
Yeah.
It is creating an interface for that practically.
Callback I'll go last. Let me complete the iterator. It's very simple concept. Iterator again, it's a private inner class concept. So iterator is give you a capability to iterate or traverse within any data structure. So you create a data structure as an abstract data type and get a iterator. So iterator basically lets you traverse within it. So normally iterator will have two methods. A get has next, which will tell do I have the next item, and if I have a next item, how do I get the next item? Using the get next. So there is a predefined iterator interface. If you want to implement, you can also write your own interface for the iterator, but you can also utilize this, what is predefined. So whatever predefined, if you have used this, then this inner class which is implementing it should define the definition of implementation for has next and get next. Now whenever you are basically you are on the user class doesn't mean it has to be named as a user class means I mean to say any outside class. So want to traverse within this, it just any other class just want to use this traverse into this particular linked list, it will create a linked list object, a linear list object, ls equal to new linear list, right? Now this is an interface, so I know it. So this is accessible to me, known to me. I can always use the iterator, so I can say it's it. I say ls and using this ls I can have a dot get iterator. So this will give me an iterator object. Then you can do this while it dot has next. If it is there, then you can access it as a it.get next. Right. So this is the use. And inside the Java, like a Python, you are having a for each kind of loop, right? So you can say for each x within the array A, you print this. So any class having this iterator defined, you can use a for each kind of loop, right? So for this linked list also, this linear list also, you can have a for, suppose it's for an integer, I can have integer I within this ls. You want to print system.out.print. I want to print this I. So it will go on printing. So it implicitly call this has next and get next and get it printed.
This get list and if you can, this is going to be defined in this iter.
The thing is like if you want to keep it like a underscore thing, then you have to be this has to be user defined. And if you want to use the inbuilt one, I think it's defined as a get next. You don't have this underscore thing. You can go and check inside the.
Okay. So just a clarity, because has next would be just checking whether the next is there or not. That's a boolean. So it'll return a true or false.
Yeah.
And get next, how do you do that? So you have to return an object.
Get next returns a value, right? So the value I don't know. It could be an integer, float, double, employee, or student, anything.
The problem is here it's defined as an object.
Is a generic type, right? It is
right.
top of any.
We have to typecast after getting that,
after
right?
that, you have to typecast, yeah. So we can return anything. That means.
Okay.
Any type of object. Okay. So now let us go for the callback thing, right? So the simple thing I do, I assume, so I'm having some job inside the function f. So I'll put an alarm kind of thing. After certain time, I resume my work, right? So I was doing some job inside my function. So I want some interval I'll take, some gap I'll take for a time. So once the gap is over, I'll again start working. Maybe that's my idea. So how I'll be able to do that? Right. So what I do, I create a timer object. I create a timer object. It's here. and pass this like the object of my class also. It's a my class instance. The current object's instance. This is of my class type. So I want to say this timer belongs to whom? Because many class can utilize your timer. So timer should know for whom it is working. So as soon as I'll call the timer, timer will start waiting. So once the time is already over, the time I set, it basically invokes something and said the time is over, so you can resume your job. Right. The idea again I'm saying, I go into the F, then I set a timer. A certain time is done, the timer will inform the time is already lapsed, so you can start working or do something. So how I supposed to do? From the function F, I instantiate the timer, I start the timer, this timer will start waiting. Once certain time is over, it will call my function. Now, how do the timer know? How do the timer know who is my caller? Means for whom I am working. So for this is required. So I pass this as my current object. So who is become the owner? If I say owner dot time done, it's basically going to call this. So this is the call time. So as a caller, I call you. So you do certain things, then call my function. So you're calling a function of the caller. You're calling a function of the caller. Now the question is, why this interface is required?
Yeah, it's not required. I don't know why we are requiring. You can create all this without the interface.
The question is,
Which one we are asking?
why this interface is required?
Okay.
The question is,
To create a timer owner, the timer owner method will be used in the my class to create a timer owner, so that it can be used for the start parameter.
but why the interface is required?
Okay.
See, what is the type of owner? The timer owner, right?
This interface is public, and this is
Then
private.
what? This is also public, no? So where is the problem here? Nothing is hidden, no? Everything public here. So owner type is the type of the owner class is owner object is time owner. Now owner dot time done I'm calling, right? Why I'm using the interface type, not the my class type? I may have done this my class, right? And here also I take a my class. Now if I use a my class, how the timer will know you are having a method called as a timer done? Right. But if you have this interface, time owner, which shows I'm having the capability of time done. So anybody implement this, they are also having the same capability. So that's why rather than making it my class specific to a particular class, it can be inherited by or implemented by any other class. So any other class which is basically implementing this time owner will be able to use this timer, right? Otherwise, this timer class will be specific to my class only.
Yeah.
Getting? So that's why we should say here, it's not only the my class, any class implements the my owner will be able to use my timer. This generalize the thing.
Now it's clear, sir. Thank you.
So I think we are done.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Can I ask a question from
Yeah,
mock?
please. Yeah.
Last question of mock, question number 15.
Nalini, you have to help me. I don't know where it is. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah, Nalin, can you show me the question? Or if you know that, you can just tell me.
Yeah, actually, I'm also checking that.
कितना बजे एग्जाम? हाँ, 1 बजे.
Yes, ma'am. Here, the main method, the class with the main method, restaurant dot producer p is equal to object dot new producer. How is this working?
Okay, it is inner class, right? So inner class, that means this inner class producer is okay. How can we access array? We can access array by saying this what, by creating the object of restaurant, and we can access this, no? So here actually, in order to create what, in order to create the object of this inner class producer, basically you can, the syntax
Nalini,
is
I'm
this.
sorry. Sorry, just to interrupt. Nalini, can
Yeah,
I leave? I am having another session actually.
yeah, yes sir,
Okay,
sure,
thank you.
sure,
Thank you
thanks
all.
sir.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So yeah, in order to create this object of this producer, this class inner class producer, first the object of outer class restaurant should be created, and using that object, the object of this producer has to be created. This is syntax only, like, so first restaurant object should be created, obj is that restaurant object, and using that object obj dot new producer, that means we are creating the producer object. In order to access that inner class also, we have to say like restaurant dot producer of p. This is like, basically this is the syntax in order to create the inner class object. This kind of notation we will use.
Ma'am, so where do we go after this? Like restaurant dot producer p is equal to object dot new producer. So
Mm.
this takes us to
Creation of object of this producer class, inner class producer. It will create object for the producer.
yes, ma'am. I understood that. So we
Mm.
it takes us to the class producer.
Yes.
Ma'am, scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, it is p dot produce. The produce method will be invoked.
Produce method will be. So, ma'am, what is actually happening? I'm not able to get that.
See, generally, how will you create objects? How will you create
We
object
give the
generally?
class as a reference, and then we have uh, object is
New,
equal to
yeah,
new something
yeah,
and
a
the
new
constructor.
keyword. Yeah, new keyword you will use, no? The same thing here also, you are doing new producer of, that means you are creating the producer object.
Okay, ma'am.
But as this is inner class, you need to create outer class first, and then only you can access the, you can create the object of inner class. So in order to create inner class, you should use a this, no, new restaurant of obj is new object of restaurant. So obj dot new producer, actually p is this object of the inner class producer. So pre dot produce will invoke the produce method of this producer class. So what
So
does
we
this
go to the produce class,
yeah,
produce method,
method?
produce method,
If buffer of 0 equal to null,
which is not null here in this case.
it is not null. So okay, buffer equal to new string of 5,
So
right?
we are basically in this stanza we are basically having an array with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, but 5
Item. Item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because
Yeah,
there's
item
item
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Item 1, item 2, item 3, like this
Yeah.
we'll have 5.
Right.
And then
So string buffer is items. Actually, it says string array. It's item 0 only. No. So buffer equal to new string of 5. That means we are creating here new string. Yeah, new array for integer I equal to 0. We are setting the values for this buffer, like item 1, item 0 at the item is I plus 1. That means 0 plus 1. First item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 5 will be there.
so ma'am, is this creating completely a new buffer, or do we have item 0 also in this buffer?
It will create new buffer, no,
New
because
buffer.
yeah. And
And then
system
ma'am,
dot out,
after that,
yeah, system dot out dot println, whatever the method will be executed, new consumer dot consume of buffer.
okay.
Yeah. So actually this won't get terminated, because in the producer we are calling consumer consume thing, in the consumer we are calling producer thing. This will keeps on, just it is never ending process. It will keeps
Okay.
on repeating. Yeah.
And the print statement will also be there, constantly being given as an output, isn't it?
Yeah,
For the
print state.
producer will be given. Yeah, producer has finished producing.
Mm, yeah.
There will be given.
Producer. Okay. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice session. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Ma'am, I have taught in a graded assignment, week 3, graded assignment, question number 9, and week 4, graded assignment, question number 4 and 8.
Sorry. Week 3.
Week 3, question number 9.
Okay. Week 3 question 9.
And practice assignment, question number 15 of that same week.
Uh, yeah. Actually, yeah. I think many of you know this. This thing, it will be great if you have any specific doubt. It will be great if you can post this in the discourse, because most
Ma'am,
of you.
I posted, but you didn't reply. Even I
y-
tagged you.
okay, sure, it will be replied. Okay. Yeah. Okay, this question number 15, 9, right? Okay, so choose the correct option regarding the given code.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, check the code thoroughly. Yeah, a public class endangered extends mammal. So just check for the options first. The code produces compilation error on line 37. Go for line 37 and check line 37. M1 dot display. M1 is mammal. You check whether the mammal has display method or not. Display, only display. Mammal has display without any arguments. It's endangered. Yeah, endangered does not. Yeah, mammal has. Yeah, mammal has display method. Yes, no, it can call, but yeah, it can call this display method. That line number 37 is not correct. It does not produce compilation error. Compilation error on line 36. M1 dot show, whether show method is there in mammal or not. Show mammal show, yeah, it's there, so no problem, right? It can invoke the show method. Yeah. So yeah, the code generates the output, and okay, now you check what output the code gives. M1 dot show, M1 dot display are the methods we are invoking. So which show method will be called?
M1 dot show.
M1 dot show, it's from mammal class or it's from endangered class?
It's from endangered class.
It's from endangered class. So endangered status of name, whatever the name is, like, yeah, name you can see here, tiger. Yeah, that will be printed is endangered status. Yeah. M1 dot display, what method will be called? Display method of the endangered only.
Endangered.
Endangered has does not have zero argument display, so it will go to this
Mammal
display
class.
mammals details. Yeah, the output is like endangered status for that thing. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the situation where it gives me null and the line option number 4?
Endangered status of null. See, null is like when the value of instance variable is not set. But here we have already set the values of instance variables. Mammal is whenever we create an object of endangered or mammal, this this will be executed. The constructor will be called, and this values will be set. So if the values are not set, then it will give the null as output. Here instead of name, it will print null. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And the practice assignment, question number 15.
Question 15. Question 15. Yeah, this one. Yeah,
Yes.
this might be. Yeah, what's okay. What is the output of the following Java program? What is the output we have to check? Example obj equal to new college.
Mm-hmm.
New college. Can we
So
create? Yeah, this is like,
we have
this is not
taken the
possible. It
OBJ.
will give compilation error because this is like child class reference. No, example is child class of college. The child class cannot hold the object of parent class because example has some extra methods, like because it
Mm-hmm.
has some, yeah, that is not possible. Parent class reference cannot Parent class reference can hold child class object, but child class reference. Now, here instead of here obj example, if it is college obj equal to new example, then it will work.
Will
But
work.
here it will compilation fails. Okay, you can check the
Okay,
answer.
okay.
Yeah.
Week 4, question number 4 and 8.
Wait. Week 4. The answer is correct, right? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Week 4. Question number
Question number 4 and 8.
graded.
Yeah, graded. And what about the practice programming assignments answer?
The solution won't be given actually. Yeah, because yeah, therefore your practice only, your solutions won't be provided, but you can ask them during the live sessions. Like, yeah, programming live sessions will be
And
taken.
please reply on the discourse, man, because I have
Yeah, actually, yeah, we are replying actually. Today we have session, no? Yeah.
okay. So question number 4. Yeah, this thing.
Identify the appropriate option to fill in the blank at line 1 such that the output becomes execute fetch students. Execute fetch students. Uh, uh, so that will be printed. Okay. When appropriate line, which line should we identify? This line, huh? Okay, this
Hmm.
line we should identify. Hmm.
The second last line, can you explain that one?
Here.
Yeah, DBI con, the object is creating that thing.
Yeah, new DBI database dot connect DB. What is connect DB? Connect DB is
Right, in the class,
method.
private.
Yeah, it's not connect DB. Connect DB is, yeah, connect DB is, what is connect DB? Is connect DB? It's connection DB, connection OBJ, right? Connect DB of test comma test. So it should be, yeah. So is
What
this a
does it
method or
mean?
not? Yeah, sorry.
What does it mean? Connect DB test comma test means what is
Yeah.
taking it as?
See, actually, this is a connected database. New database is object of DBIF. So dot connect DB should be method, or
Okay.
should be method of this DBIF.
So it is in built method or we have created that
That's
one?
what we have to create, no? Because
That's what
that's the
here.
blank.
Yeah, that's what the blank. So it takes two argument test, that is strings.
String.
Yeah.
Right.
So what is its return type? What is its return type? It's
Return
return type a new connection object. New connection object. Yeah, the return type is new connection object, no?
You can
So
do
it is
public
connection of
connection object. Yeah, you can do public
public
connection
connection
object.
object connected
Connect.
DB string u comma p because u comma p because we are using this u
string.
comma
You
p
can also
here.
do interface public dbif connect.
Yeah, instead of as connection obj is what, as connection obj implements dbif, we can use dbif also instead of connection obj here. Here connection obj, you can see connection obj implements dbif, that means it is a child class. So instead of this child class, you can say it as dbif also, because you can return either dbif object or connection obj.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, as it is, uh, as you are calling that directly by what.
Database dot connect db method.
Okay, that is clear, right? You are, see, here static would have come if you have not created the object. Here you are creating new database, that means you are creating the object, so static is also won't come into place. New static, public static, so you have to public connection object or this one only. Okay, so you are not, you are creating object, no, new database, that means object is getting created, so you are not accessing that directly by using the class name, so instead you are using the object, no, that's why. Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
repeat again why we cannot use the static public static that?
Because you are not saying dbif dot connect db, you are not using the
Okay,
class
okay.
name directly, you are using some object, no, new database object is created, and then you are calling the connect db method to this object. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. My question number 8.
8. Consider the Java program and select the correct option among the given choices. Okay. What is the correct option? So 3, 3 equal to new 3 of what is 3? 3 implements 2. So
Yeah.
it should override the display method, and it also should define the print method, right?
Mhm.
Because 2 is extending 1. So what all methods does interface 2 has? It has void print and void display.
Display.
But yeah, S3 implements 2, that means it should define all these two methods, print and display. If not, we have to mention this class as abstract.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's why 3.display won't give any compilation fails actually this. Because print method has not been overridden in class 3. Only display method is overridden. No, that's why. Okay.
No,
So
no,
if a
I'm not getting that. Can you repeat it?
okay, as actually 2 extends 1. So 2
Mhm.
is inheriting 1. So 2 will have this method void
Yeah,
print
yeah.
also.
Mhm.
So yeah, 3 implements 2. That means 3 should define both the, give the definition of both these abstract methods, void print and display method. It should what define. If not, we are not defining those methods, then we should make this class as abstract. But here we are not making this class as abstract, we are making it as simple class, no, we are not making it as abstract, so this won't work. Yeah, compilation fails because the print method is not overridden in class 3. If we have defined print method, then this would have work. Okay, the code will be correct if the print method is defined in class 3. Okay, if a class implements interface, then it should what override all the abstract methods. But here, class 3 is not overriding all the abstract method. It's only overriding display method. One this the
Okay.
print.
So
Yeah.
if there will be any print method in class 3, right?
Mm.
Then it will then the code will be correct.
Yes, if we give implementation to print method, then it will be correct. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, ma'am. That's all.
Yeah. Okay.
Ma'am, one small question. Ma'am, in the stack class, we cannot put final values in instance variable in abstract class. Where we cannot put in
We
abstract
can
or in
put
interface?
in the interface also we can put the final variables, because yeah, that the inherited classes will get the interface, but we cannot change those values. That's all.
Or in abstract class, we can put final also.
Yes, you can put final variables.
Variables can put.
Ma'am, actually, I have only one doubt.
Yeah.
Ma'am, graded assignment question number 5.
Which graded assignment?
Ma'am, graded assignment 2.
Yeah, this is easy only, no?
No, ma'am, actually, one simple doubt. Why we have value x? Value of x is 0.
Okay, why value of x is 0? Okay, here it has, see, x as local variable and the instance variable also has the same name.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So actually x equal to x means we are just assigning, we are not assigning value to this variable.
We had put this dot x, then it
If
would
we
take.
say this dot x equal to x, then our value of x will be 10. Here only x equal to x means this, inside this it will be local variable, x is local variable. Whenever we say x here, that will be this x only, it won't be instance variable x. So in order to mention it as instance variable x, you have to use this dot x, that means this x. But here when you are inside here, that will be local variable x, this only. So x, whatever the value of x is there, that will be assigned to x only. So the default value of integer will be 0, that's why the answer is 0. The value of x is not assigned. Okay.
Ma'am, won't it give compile error or something?
No, why compile error?
X equal to x.
No, say, I can say, right, it is nothing, we are saying whatever the value x has, that we are reassigning to x. This is similar to y equal to z only. Whatever the value z has, that we are assigning to y, no, same here, whatever the value of x is, we will say, no, that like 3 equal to 3, something like that only, it won't give any error. X equal to 3, it is similar to that only, x equal to 3 or x equal to 4, whatever the value of x is, that will be assigned to x only.
So, ma'am, this x is the argument x or the class x?
This is argument x, this is local variable x here. In order to say this instance variable x, we have to use this dot x. Okay.
Okay. So it will be 10 equal to 10, ma'am.
Yes, it will be just x equal to 10. X equal to 10. What is the value of x? What the argument we are passing here? 10 comma 20, no? So
Yes,
10
ma'am.
will be assigned to this x, this local variable x. That's all. Yeah. It is
But
x equal to 10. But this x is not instance variable x. This is local variable x. Okay.
okay, outside this method, we can't access x equal to 10. It will give the 0.
Yes.
In method print point, the x will be 0.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's all. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, a nice session.
Yeah.
All the
Thanks.
best to all the colleagues. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All the best for your quiz one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We can close the session.
Thank you, ma'am.